We are Baltimore. We are Wisconsin.
Thursday afternoon in Chicago, and we welcome you from the north side, historic Wrigley Field, the home of the Cubs. It's the Brewers and the Cubs, Game 3 of this three-game series. Brewers in salvage mode this afternoon. Hi, everybody. We welcome you from Wrigley. Brian Anderson along with Bill Schroeder, Sophia Minard, our reporter here today. And the headline today is Ryan Braun. While the Brewers have lost the first two games in the series, Braun homered yesterday, Rock, and he is now one home run shy of matching Robin Yount's franchise record.
Yeah, he continues to swing the bat well. I mean, Ryan Braun has to be gratified to know that after all that happened to him in 2012 with the suspension, that he's still pretty close to the player that he was early in his career with all the home runs, 20 home runs this year, and one more home run is going to tie the kid. But certainly Ryan Braun is on a track right now like he was early in his career, driving the baseball out of the ballpark. That right field stroke has been very good. It's got to be really good feeling for him to be close to Robin Yount's record.
Seventh season with 20 or more home runs. He's looking for number 21 here today, which would get him to 251 for his career and match him with the kid, Robin Yount. Ryan Braun with a lot of baseball to play, too. He's got a chance to hit 30 this season. We'll talk pitching when we continue. Tyler Cravey gets the ball against a Cubs ace, John Lester. Sophia back with more right after this from Chicago.
Sports Wisconsin is brought to you by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. By Toyota. See where Toyota takes you. Test drive one at your Toyota dealers. Toyota, let's go places. And by Miller Lite, the original light Pilsner. Cheers, it's Miller time. Afternoon baseball here at Wrigley Field in Chicago. It's the series finale between the Brewers and the Cubs, and it's an intriguing pitching matchup here on the mound. The rookie Tyler Cravey will go up against Jon Lester of the Cubs, and for Tyler Cravey, he gets his first look at the Cubs, making just his 4th start here in the big leagues, and he's still looking for his first win as a major leaguer. Now, it was a disappointing end to his last start against the Cardinals on Friday, taking the spot of Kyle Lohse in the Brewers starting rotation, and all 6 runs that Cravey gave up came in the 5th inning. So for Tyler Cravey, it's about moving forward from that start and what he learned in that outing.
Well, it started off well, as you guys saw, and then that 5th inning kind of got out of control pretty quick, and it's a little frustrating when you start a game that well. You feel like you have the team figured out almost, and then an inning like that happens, and it just goes to show you never really have it all figured out.
What have you learned start to start from your debut, which was so great in St. Louis, and now as you've gone through a few times?
Just focus on execution, really. Regardless of the situation, things can get out of hand anytime if you lose focus and stop executing pitches.
The Cubs are rolling one of the hottest teams in baseball, and they will be sending one of their best pitchers to the mound in Jon Lester. He has been terrific over his last 7 starts. He's been able to go deep into games for the Cubs. He has gone at least 7 innings in his last 7 and has been even better since the All-Star break. 3-0 in 4 starts since the break, an ERA of 1.84. So for manager Craig Counsell, the challenge is they're going up against Lester, but they're more worried about playing a quality game on their own end.
You're going up against a very good pitcher, and it's difficult. But I think from our perspective, we have to play. A quality baseball game. We have to kind of out execute the other team. We don't. I don't think we're have the ability to make mistakes right now. Our mistakes tend to. It feels like they hurt you worse when you have a little less room for error, and you're going against a team that is hot and feels like they're getting breaks and things like that, and playing with a lot of confidence. So, Jon Lester's a good pitcher, and he has some cracks that hopefully we can expose today, and we'll see what happens.
Jon Lester won a 1-0 decision in his last outing against the Brewers. The Brewers are looking to end the Cubs run here at Wrigley Field. Coming up, we'll hear more from manager Craig Counsell as he sits down with our own Brian Anderson in the dugout.
Sports Wisconsin is brought to you by Marshfield Clinic. Don't just live, shine. By Piggly Wiggly, the official supermarket of Fox Sports Wisconsin. And by Hupy and Abraham, 800-800-5678. Hupy and Abraham, tell them you mean business. And we welcome you back from Wrigley Field, Chicago. Day baseball this afternoon. The Brewers and the Cubs ready for the final game of this series. And pleased to be joined now by Craig Counsell, Brewers manager. Got a chance to catch up with you one-on-one here. There's been so much news going on this week in Chicago. Have you had a chance to digest all that has happened in the front office realm and how that may affect you? And what's your perspective on things a few days after the news of Doug Melvin?
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken with Doug and really, you know, working with Doug in the front office the last 3 years. You know, it's not maybe as big a surprise to me. I mean, you know, he was getting to the end. You could just tell his, you know, he wants to enjoy, you know, life a little more in different ways. So it's not a huge surprise, but it's, you know, it's big news. Doug's been a general manager for a long time, and he's been in Milwaukee for a long time and been an important part of this franchise. So you know, it's a period of time for us where there's change happening, and it's been significant change in the last, you know, just in the last 3 weeks. There's been significant change, and so you know, creates kind of a, you know, it's a lot of emotion. There's cracks that we have to fill in and try to fill in. And we'll continue to try to do that. But we're in a period of change right now, and we have to kind of be open to that and understand that and do our best to get through it.
You're a very observant guy, and I'm not sure there are many situations that have existed like this where the owner has said a new general manager is going to have to be able to work with and plow along with Craig Counsell as manager. He's very happy with you as manager, Mark Atanasio, and the new general manager will have to come in with that understanding. What kind of position does that put you in, and how does that make you feel to hear that?
Well, I look at it, you know, I mean, I look at it like, you know, I'm excited to work with the next person, and I think it'll be good. I would think it'd be good no matter, you know, you're happy to hear Mark's comments, obviously, but I think it's going to be a good relationship no matter what he said. I believe we'd form a good relationship, and I believe we'll work well together, and you're excited about that. You're excited about, I'm excited about building a championship team, and, you know, the person is going to do it maybe a little different than Doug would have done it, but we're still got the same goal in mind, and that's easy to get around that goal and put our heads around that goal and get excited to work every day for that goal.
Talk us through a little bit, because season ticket holders are going to ask, like, how long is this going to take for the Brewers to get good again? And you're all about wins and losses as a manager. What's your perspective on that, and how do you talk to your staff? How do you talk to your people about that perspective at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we know how long it's going to take. It's hard to say as we sit here today how long it's going to take. I think, you know, you need to add, you know, championship caliber players and pieces, and, you know, there's going to be a lot of transactions made over the next 3 years that kind of determine how fast it's going to be. There's going to be surprises. There's going to be disappointments. There's going to be players that you're waiting on for them to kind of hit their stride. So it's a little bit of wait and see with that. I know, you know, you feel like there's some possibilities of really good things, and then you want to just have as many good possibilities and then have them come together. I mean, you look at these teams that are good right now, and like the Cubs, there's about 6 players that weren't here to start the year, that weren't even, and significant pieces. So sometimes it's hard to say exactly, to give a precise timeline, but I know, you know, it's about adding good players and creating a good culture around development. It's going to be important, and that's what we'll work on doing.
All right. Thanks for spending some time with us.
All right, B.A.
All right, that's Craig Counsell, Brewers manager. And now we get set for the final game of the series. It's the Brewers and the Cubs. Tyler Cravey against John Lester from Wrigley. Stay right there. We got the lineups and the first pitch coming up next. Sunny skies and day baseball here on the north side of Chicago, and it's been fun so far today because the Blue Angels have been buzzing Wrigley Field. They were here yesterday. They sang "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," and they're just hanging out as only the Blue Angels can, hanging out around Wrigley Field. How cool is that?
You know what's nice about that? You know, we saw them, you know, their faces and what they look like in the booth next to us in last night's ball game. Now you can match a face to the guys sitting in those seats, and that's pretty cool. These guys are unbelievable.
Very much so. The Brewers are trying to salvage the final game of the series. Craig Counsell's club facing John Lester, the left-hander, this afternoon, and Craig Counsell's batting order reflects that. He does have one lefty in the lineup in Logan Schaefer, but here are the others, brought to you by Potawatomi. Segura leads off today. You got Luke Croy batting second, then Braun hitting third. Middle of the order is Chris Davis, Jason Rogers, and Elian Herrera. And the bottom three, Hernan Perez, Logan Schaefer, and Tyler Cravey. And no Jeanette, no Lind. Keep the left-handers away from John Lester. He's equally as tough against right-handers. And he's pitching very well right now. John Lester, since the All-Star break, has a 3-0 record and a sub-2 ERAs at 1.84. And Rock, as we've seen here at Wrigley Field, the Cubs have maybe something special going this year. They have won 11 of their last 12, and they've beaten the Brewers in 6 consecutive games.
Yeah, they seem to be doing everything right now. I mean, they are on one of those stretches where it seems like they're invincible. I mean, playing very good defense. You know, they're getting tremendous starting pitching. Their bullpen's been pretty good, and they've got their stud out there on the mound here today, John Lester, who went a stretch of 10 consecutive starts without a win. That was from May 27th to July 19th. He's won, you know, 3 straight decisions. That covers 4 starts. You see overall a 7-8 record, a 322 earned run average. He's 1-2 in 3 starts against Milwaukee, and in those 3 starts against the Brew Crew, 5 earned runs in 22 innings of work.
Now Lester has his familiar backstop behind the plate in David Ross. The rest of the Menards Cubs defense with Coughlin back in his comfortable position in left field, Fowler's in center, Soler in right, and then an infield of Chris Bryant, Addison Russell, and out at second base today is Coughlin, I beg your pardon, and then Anthony Rizzo, who made a great play yesterday at first base. So check that. You got Schwarber in left and Chris Coughlin at second base, and those are the Cubs defensively. And Joe Madden continues this lineup with Schwarber, who is a catcher by trade. Cubs are basically carrying 3 catchers with Ross, Montero, and Schwarber, who is now turned into the everyday left fielder.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the bat plays. Schwarber's been off to a pretty good start. He's had a pretty quiet series so far. You hate to say that before this game's over with, but boy, what a game for Anthony Rizzo at first base yesterday. One of the best games we've seen from a first baseman. A great catch, a good heads-up throw over to third base to catch Scooter Jeanette rounding the bag a little bit too far. So right now the Cubs, you know, don't pinch them if you're a Cubs fan, because they're playing some pretty good baseball.
Now the Cubs, the Mets, and the Blue Jays, the 3 hottest teams in the big leagues coming in. Toronto's won 10 in a row. There are the umpires. Mark Carlson will call the balls and strikes. He's also the crew chief. Gabe Morales, Eric Cooper, and Trip Gibson on the bases. And all the pieces are put in place. This 1:20 game ready to start at 1:23 Central Time. And John Lester ready to go at his own pace as Gene Segura leads off. And Segura swinging away at the first pitch, and off we go at Wrigley. Brewers are headed back to Milwaukee after the game today. Just a brief 3-game road trip for the Brewers. They're trying to win this final game after losing the first 2. Lost in extra innings last night. A Miguel Montero walk-off home run in the 10th inning after the Brewers tied it in the 9th inning on a wild pitch. They had a blown save from Rondon last night. And then Montero, the leadoff batter in the 10th, won it for the Cubs. That was their 11th walk-off of the season, which is the most in the major leagues.
And their 11th extra inning game, which means their bullpen's been pretty good. Cubs starting to swing the bats, but the Brewers need to do the same. Got to get that offense going.
1-2 to Segura. To swing and a foul. It's going to sound a lot like Citi Field in New York today with the air traffic going by. They have an air show going on the lakefront out of Lake Michigan, and the Blue Angels doing some of their maneuvers today. It's fascinating to watch.
It is.
Ball and 2 strikes on Segura. Back in the leadoff spot this afternoon. And there's a called strike 3. And that's Lester's signature pitch. He's got a couple of variations of that cut fastball. That one had the big break on it, and Segura is a strikeout victim.
Yep, he'll throw a four-seamer. He'll cut it, which he just threw to Gene Segura. Ended up right down the middle, and he will flip up a curveball from time to time, but he's thrown the baseball well. Last time out, beat San Francisco 7-3. 7 innings for Lester. Gave up only 2 runs in that last start. Lester's gone 7 consecutive starts, going 7 or more innings, so he's been an innings eater.
One away for Jonathan Lucroy, who had a hit last night, had a number of line drive outs, had a couple of line drive outs to third base on Tuesday night, and then had another one last night. And his hitless streak had gone to 17 consecutive at-bats before he singled to right last night. So he's trying to fight his way out of a slump. Very low batting average for Lucroy, very uncharacteristic of Jonathan Lucroy. Comes in batting just .238. 4 homers, 25 runs batted in. And he strikes out. The ball gets away from Ross. And the throw to first is late. So a strikeout, but a base runner on a wild pitch. Brewers will take base runners however they can get them today.
Yeah, wild pitch has been a good source of offense for Milwaukee. We talked about last night in the 9th inning. A couple of big wild pitches allowed them to tie the ball game. Lucroy on a strikeout on a breaking pitch down. It was a slider, and Ross not able to keep it in front of him.
Here's Ryan Braun now with 1 away. Three hits, including a home run against the Cubs in this 3-game series. Braun had all 3 of those hits yesterday, and a first-inning home run.
Home run came on the first pitch in his first at bat last night.
And Braun swinging at the first pitch here. Comes up empty. Last night, home run number 250 of his career. A breaking ball off of Jason Hamill. And Braun with Powerball home run number 20. He's 1 home run shy of Robin Yount's franchise record. Would tie the kid with another long ball. Needs 2 for the franchise record all by himself. And Braun's got an outside chance to hit 30 this year with a flourish over the final 6 weeks.
Yeah, unfortunately, most of his home runs have been solo shots. The top of the order having a difficult time getting on base, but you've got Lucroy at first.
Interesting that Braun, 11 of his 20 home runs this year have come on the first pitch. Sits here in a 1-1 count with Lucroy at first. And a swing and a miss. 93 with a fastball from Lester.
Yeah, four-seamer is going right after Ryan Braun.
Braun had 2 days off. A team scheduled off day Monday, and then Counsell had him out of the starting lineup on Tuesday. Did have a pinch hit appearance on Tuesday, and then was back in the starting lineup last night and had those 3 hits. Got him. Lester with a fastball. And 3 strikeouts already for John Lester.
Yeah, 93, 94 miles an hour, but the way it comes out of his hand, it appears that it's a lot quicker to the hitter. You know, throwing 3 fastballs by Braun, you don't see that very often, particularly a fastball away. That's where Braun likes it.
It's just those subtle movements. About halfway to the plate, the pitch looks the same, and then he's got the cutter that breaks a touch in on a right-handed batter, the fastball that sinks away from a right-handed batter, and it can be a very long day if Lester's on his game. They brought him here to be an ace, and he's got a postseason pedigree as well. Despite his poor outing against the Kansas City Royals last year in the wild card game, pitching for the Oakland A's, his earned run average in the postseason still under 3. And he's been a part of 2 World Series championship clubs with Boston.
All that, and he doesn't like to throw to first base. And the Brewers, you would expect, they'll get good leads and take off because he doesn't like to throw to the bases too much.
And because of that, you'll see David Ross, the catcher, throw to the bags quite often, especially first base. There's a strike to Davis, 2-1. Chris with 11 homers, 35 driven in, comes in with a .235 batting average. His on base percentage at .321. Chopper to third. This is Bryant. And that will end the inning. So Lester strikes out 3. A wild pitch allows a base runner, but a scoreless first inning for him. In Chicago, and we are off and running at Wrigley. Brewers failed to score in the first. Joe Madden's Cubs coming up now against right-hander Tyler Cravey, and Madden has his Cubs at 64-48. Dexter Fowler leads off. Kyle Schwarber bats second with Coughlin in the 3-hole again playing second base, and in the middle of the order Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant, and Jorge Soler. Bottom 3, David Ross. The pitcher, John Lester. Addison Russell hits 9th. That's the Potawatomi batting order for the Cubs against right-hander Tyler Cravey.
Yeah, making start number 4. Appearance number 5. Got roughed up his last time out back on August 7th. That was against the Cardinals. 5 innings, 6 runs after being down in the minor leagues for a month. His start before the one against the Cardinals against the Braves on July 7th.
Dexter Fowler will lead it off for the Cubs. Cubs won the opener here 6-3 on Tuesday night, and then last night that 3-2 10-inning victory, despite the Brewers out hitting the Cubs last night 6-4. Matt Garza pitched a good ball game last night, 7 innings, 2 earned runs, and the winner was Tommy Hunter, who pitched the top of the 10th inning for the Cubs. Fowler had a hit yesterday, was 1 out of 3. Had one of the 4 hits. Fowler, Bryant, Montero, and Addison Russell each with hits yesterday.
Yeah, you're right about Matt Garza. Had a really good fastball. Had some life to it as it got to the hitting zone. Had the strikeouts and had a good curveball again. Back-to-back starts for Garza with a good hook.
Brewers got a short start from Taylor Youngman on Tuesday, went 2 2/3, and then last night Garza gave him 7. The Brewers used Jeffress, Smith, and Blazek out of the bullpen. And you figure everybody's available here today, maybe with the exception of Will Smith, who went an inning and 2/3. I hear them, but I don't see them.
I would imagine you're going to see a lot of timeouts being called. This is not like Citi Field where they're used to it. Kind of startles you from time to time.
As Fowler draws a leadoff walk.
Well, let's check out the Brewers Menards defense. You got Davis, Schaefer, and Braun. You got Logan Schaefer in center. Craig Counsell's taking his left-handers out of the lineup. That puts Herrera at second in place of Scooter Gennett, and Jason Rogers. They start at first base. Adam Lynn sits this one out.
Leadoff base runner for the Cubs, and here is Kyle Schwarber now. Schwarber is hitless in the series. A couple of 0 for 4s. Gravy missing inside, and Lucroy spotted something. He's on his way out.
He got ahead of Dexter Fowler fairly quickly, but one not able to put him away. Had him 0-2. Tried to make the perfect pitch. Ended up walking him.
Youngman ran into trouble with his command against the Cubs on Tuesday night. Yesterday, Garza was sharp. He only walked 2 in his 7 innings. Cubs are an interesting team, though. They are a free swinging bunch, generally speaking, especially their young hitters, and they start 4 rookies in their lineup. They strike out a lot, but they can put some long at bats together, and
they walk a lot.
They do walk a lot.
Yeah, kind of an odd combination, isn't it?
Shift is on with Fowler at first. Not a giant sample size with Schwarber offensively, but it's enough for the Brewers to feel like they need to put 3 infielders on the right side. Schwarber's playing in just his 31st game.
Yeah, he was having a tough time with the high fastball in yesterday's game. And Tyler Cravey doesn't really have the velocity to be able to really get it by him consistently up around the belt. Garza did last night.
Now we'll see if Cravey tries to go upstairs on Schwarber. 1-2 the count, and that one's down. 2-2 now.
Yep, the sinker, the slider, and the changeup for Cravey. A ground ball pitcher doesn't really rely too much on the strikeout.
Cubs are coming off a 6-game sweep, or rather 4-game sweep of the Giants, giving them 6 wins in a row. And there's a swing and a miss. Schwarber strikes out. That was a changeup from Cravey and a dandy.
Yeah, well located, down and away. Looked pretty good until it got about halfway to home plate, and kind of bottom drops out of it and gets Schwarber on strikes.
So Schwarber remains hitless, and here is Chris Coghlan. Very unusual for a major league club in contention to have a 3-hole hitter like Coghlan, who gets substituted out defensively pretty much every night, whether they're up or down. Madden loves his bat in the lineup. He doesn't figure to be a 3-hole hitter in a major league lineup, especially with this kind of offensive firepower, but Madden likes him in that spot ahead of Rizzo, behind Schwarber. He likes that left-handed bat, but it is interesting that if the Cubs are trailing late, he'll substitute Starlin Castro for Coghlan. If the Cubs are ahead late, he's been putting Herrera for defensive purpose in there for Coghlan.
So he comes out no matter what, unless they're tied, I guess.
I'm not sure. When the last 9-inning game he played, I don't think he's played one as a second baseman.
He's played at third base. He's been in the outfield, now at second base. They have 2 guys that are playing second base that haven't played there a whole lot. Starlin Castro's been coming in late in games in this series. He's never played second base until this series, or this year.
Coghlan in the Marlins minor league system, and he ultimately would become Rookie of the Year for the Marlins in 2009. But when he was in their minor league system, He played third base, and then a young Miguel Cabrera started to come through the Marlins system, so they moved Coughlin to second base for a couple of seasons. Ultimately, he was in center field. Runner goes. Fowler. The pitch is a strike. Throw to second right there. And out at second base. Fowler is gunned down. Lucroy with a beautiful throw to the bag.
Yeah, right on the money. It had to be. Dexter Fowler, a fast runner. He gets pretty good jumps. Had a pretty good lead. Good jump. But look at this throw by Lucroy. Can't walk it down there any better than that. That's a big throw out for Lucroy and the Brewers. They get the second out of the inning. You can see Fowler's lead hand sliding right into Segura's foot. He never touched the bag.
And now Coughlin on the ground to second, backhanded Herrera, and that will be the inning. So Cravey issues a leadoff walk. It's a caught stealing and a scoreless first inning. By Digger's Hotline, we remind you to call 811 before you dig. Not 911, 811. John Lester on the mound for the Cubs. Worked a scoreless first inning. Had 3 strikeouts in the inning. Lucroy struck out, reached first on a wild pitch. So 3 Ks and a ground out for his first inning. And now facing Jason Rogers on the ground to Rizzo. He's way over in the hole. Hits Lester on the move for out number 1. Well positioned, the Chicago Cubs. How did they know Rogers was going to have a half swing grounder there?
Well, they probably knew he wasn't going to roll one down the right field line. So Rizzo off the bag. Looks like he's got his gamer back. He broke the straps and the webbing of his gamer in yesterday's ball game. Somebody fixed it.
There aren't many nights when Rizzo is in the headlines for his defense. Now, he's a good defender, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But his offense is so exceptional that he's usually in the headlines for his majestic home runs or his RBIs. But last night it was a catch that he made that has been all the buzz of baseball and the sports world. And I was thinking all night about this last night. I'm trying to remember a better catch that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
With all of the difficulty, with all the obstacles that he had to climb over.
It was like a steeplechase for him.
It was.
Jumping over obstacles and climbing on a wall, and then with all that, having to deal with all that as he's running toward the stands, he positions himself perfectly under that pop-up right over there.
And he jumped on top of the tarp. Then he stepped onto the retaining wall, the top of the retaining wall, and then made the catch falling into the seats. And he said last night, he said, I had a nice soft landing thanks to Cubs fans. This could have gone wrong in so many ways, but watch this play. The dexterity, the concentration, and then the Cubs fans there to grab him as he was falling backwards.
1 foot on that wall, that's all you need. Now, if you had both feet in the sands, it wouldn't have been a catch.
Herrera sends one deep to left, and that's going to be caught in front of the wall with a slight breeze blowing out. Herrera hit that one a little further than he thought initially.
And you've seen the breeze blow in just about every direction. It was blowing in the first game of the series, blowing from right to left yesterday, and now it's blowing out to right field.
Schwarber hung with it. He's new at that position. Cubs have 2 starters in positions that they have not played very often. Coghlan at second and Schwarber in left. And the old line, the bat plays, applies to the Chicago Cubs.
Right. Yeah, Joe Madden sacrificing some defense to get some offense on the board. That's the only thing they're lacking. Although lately they've been swinging the bats pretty well.
There's the mad scientist, first year as a Cubs skipper. Hernan Perez, a little flare into right. That's going to fall, a base hit. A 2-out single and the first hit of the game for Milwaukee.
Joe Madden never been afraid to try different things and maybe shake it up a little bit. Not afraid of the criticism if it doesn't work, but it's working right now.
Well, Madden and the Cubs are thriving this year. And you ask him about his young players, and do they have the stamina, the mental stamina to hang in there, not just in a pennant race, but in a pennant race in Chicago, which is another world altogether. He doesn't talk about their age or their inexperience. He talks about fatigue and says it's upon himself to make sure these guys get days off, and he's looking in their eyes every day to hopefully notice when they need a day off. And they've all played in every game of this series.
And Joe Madden enjoying the Blue Angels.
Yeah, he's fascinated by it.
Who isn't?
Not much to manage when John Lester's on the mound, right?
I mean, how can you not? How can your eyes not go to those planes as they go by? I'm guilty of it.
Oh, look at him just making dives. Man, that's cool.
You get a free air show. You come to Wrigley Field.
This is great. We should have done our open on the Blue Angels today. Who knew?
Nope. You know anybody that's ever been up in one of those?
No.
Trevor Hoffman went up on one.
Ground ball right side for Coghlan.
Said he got sick.
Everybody gets sick. I'm sick watching them. Inning is over. The Cubs are coming up.
971 before you dig. Diggers Hotline. Back at Wrigley Field, a scoreless game here. Tyler Cravey making his first start against the Cubs. And talking to Jonathan Lucroy about Tyler Cravey, he said he works fast, got good command, mixing all of his pitches. He said, we need to get back to the guy he was in his major league debut against St. Louis. He said he did such a good job of keeping the ball down in that game. He said we want to harness that, help him to be more consistent. Cravey, for his part, says he's working on focusing on execution. Said he learned in his last start, you just can't give in or lose focus at any point.
And Sophia, he was going along pretty well his last start. The numbers don't bear it out because he did allow 6 earned runs in 5 innings, but he was actually off to a good start against the Cardinals, and then things unraveled quickly for him. 5 innings, 8 hits, 6 runs. And that's how fast it can go. He does not have much of a margin for error. He doesn't have the overpowering stuff, so he has to have good command and have good execution. Those are all cliches, but they matter most with Tyler Cravey on the mound.
It was all about the second, third time through for the Cardinals. Cravey threw 4 scoreless, then gave up a 6th spot in the 5th inning. Hitters make adjustments, so do pitchers.
Rizzo starting at this inning, and he takes ball 4. So that's the second walk issued by Cravey. Got a caught stealing that got him out of the first inning. Ended up as a 3-batter inning, but he's got a base runner on for Chris Bryant, who homered last night. Tied the game up with a home run in the 2nd inning.
Home run to right field on the first pitch.
He's hit 16 home runs this year. 13 of those 16 have come at Wrigley. Last night, 1-0 Brewers turned into 1-1, tied up after this Chris Bryant homer.
He thought he might have had a shot at it, but in the basket.
That was with a slight breeze blowing in, or at least blowing across from right to left. Put it this way, it wasn't blowing out like it is today. What a combo these two look like they're going to be. They already are. Rizzo and Bryant, top 2 run producers. Bryant actually leads the Cubs in RBIs with 66, and second behind Rizzo in homers.
He strikes out a lot, walks a lot too. 360 on base percentage. He's hitting 249. Cubs as a team, more strikeouts than any team in the National League offensively, but the second most walks. So patient, but they swing and miss a lot.
Cubs fans have been hearing about Chris Bryant ever since he was drafted 2 years ago. He was the 2nd pick overall in 2013 out of Las Vegas. That one just missed.
Yeah.
3 balls and 2 strikes. Yeah. Cravey with a pause after that one.
He's still wondering where that was. Well, you got to get that pitch. Was it low? Nope.
Fox Tracks had it right on the
ring it up
bottom edge. Pitchers like Cravey have to have that.
They don't need help.
Bryant played his college ball at the University of San Diego, and that one's going to sneak through, a base hit. Rizzo on his way to third base. No throw from Davis, and with 2 strikes, Chris Bryant bounces one into left center, and the Cubs have 2 on with nobody out.
They get an extra strike, and that's what can happen. Cravey gives up the base hit to Bryant. Had him struck out the pitch before, just out of the reach of Segura. Anthony Rizzo challenging the arm of Chris Davis. He gets into third base.
So Rizzo at third, Bryant at first. And here is Jorge Soler. Soler hasn't gotten loose with the big home run numbers just yet. Cubs feel like he's going to hit a bunch of homers. They think he's going to be a 20 to 25 home run per year type hitter. He's more of a line drive hitter now.
And some screaming line drives. We saw one on Friday night, or actually the first game of the series on Tuesday.
He's just got a beautiful level swing, powerful swing. It's just the opposite of Chris Bryant. Bryant's got that long uppercut swing. It's a lot of fly balls and ultimately home runs.
And spreads way out in that batter's box. He's got good balance. Not much of a load, which is one of the reasons why he might not be hitting home runs. He should at some point. It's about as wide as you can go and still, be able to move.
Hard hit ground ball through, base hit. And a run is in. Soler with an RBI single, and the Cubs strike first here this afternoon.
Just has that little turn of the heel and stays on balance. It's good balance swing, good follow through, and able to find the hole. Threads the needle between third and short.
Nobody out. A walk and 2 hits to start the inning. And first and second for David Ross. Ross and Lester, longtime battery mates with the Boston Red Sox. Those two synced up very well. A couple of country boys, as they say. And reunited here in Chicago. But the fact that Schwarber's been able to seamlessly go into left field, he's been all right out there. He certainly isn't a liability in left field. And, as he's coming up through the Cubs system as a catcher, they went ahead and made a play on Ross, mostly for Lester in free agency. And now it turns out that's a great move for them because Schwarber is able to play left. And you have 2 excellent catchers. Ross is an above average backup catcher and a guy who could probably be starting. I don't know if his body would hold up, but he could be starting on most teams.
But it's good work if you can find it. You get brought over to a team because of a starting pitcher, and you catch just about every time he throws.
Ross is now 38 years of age, and a wave and a miss. Down he goes. Big strikeout there for Cravey. He needed that one. That's a second K for him.
There you see that looked like change up again for Cravey. He's got a good one going tonight. I should say this afternoon.
So the first out, and that gives Cravey a chance to get a double play ball to get out of this inning. Lester figures to be bunting here. And not bunting, swinging away, and he cuts right through it. As a hitter, John Lester has 1 hit this season. He is 1 for 42. Has bounced into a double play. Madden's had him sacrifice bunt on 3 occasions, at least successful sacrifices. And Madden must be feeling like a double play is out there for Cravey to get out of this inning by not having Lester bunt. Probably figures he's got a better chance to strike out than put one on the ground.
Probably not real confident in his ability to bunt either. There you go. Never mind.
And he shows it and bunts right through it. So back-to-back strikeouts for Cravey.
Well, he bunts with 2 strikes. Who would have thought? Hey, tomorrow night the Brewers return home to begin a weekend series against the Phillies, and all fans at tomorrow's game will get a free Brewers t-shirt courtesy of Master Printwear. Great seats are still available at brewers.com/tickets. Teddy Higuera gets inducted into the Brewers Walk of Fame tomorrow before the game.
A timely name. It is National Left-Handers Day today.
Too bad it's not tomorrow.
We could carry it over if you want. I think all these days that are coming up, they're just kind of made up anyway. We could pretty much do what we want with them.
Do you give people cards for that?
I think there are cards. I have not. You know, I'm not a card guy.
I know you're not. I don't know if you want to brag about that, but
I'm gonna pick up the phone and call you guy.
So do you give Neil Kotz a card for Left-Handers Day?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting concept. Maybe we'll think about that. We could have devoted our entire pregame show to it. Now that I think about it, if only these ideas would have come 24 hours ago. There's a strike. He needed that one. That's a big one for him. Instead of a 2-1 count on Addison Russell, it goes to 1-2. And Cravey has a way out of this inning despite the first 3 batters reaching. Run is in on a Soler base hit.
Well, it's basically been fastball changeup for Cravey. And maybe Lucroy thinking about maybe breaking out the slider. Hadn't thrown too many of them. Yeah, with John Lester on the mound and the way he's thrown against the Brewers in his career, you don't want to fall behind too much.
Russell had a key RBI single last night. Gave the Cubs the lead. And he swings at this one, a pop-up. Rogers is back. Herrera's calling with the glasses on, and he makes a play. Not an easy play, but makes a play to end the inning. Cubs get just 1. We go to the 3rd. They lead 1-0 as we head to the 3rd inning. It is now time for you to tweet us your strongest fan photo. Use hashtag WisDataStrongFan, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast. It's brought to you by T-Mobile. John Lester back at it here as we go to the 3rd. And Cravey will lead off. The baseball got loose in the outfield. See, the idea, if you're a Cubs fan, you bring a baseball, kind of a backup, a mock, a dummy. And then if you catch a home run, well, then you throw the dummy ball back and you get to keep the Rob Manfred signed Major League Baseball. Cravey drops a bunt on the first pitch. Lester has trouble throwing on a hop. Scooped out by Rizzo. Heck of a play by Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah, Lester gave him a good hop. It's amazing, you know, you got a guy, you know, Mike Garza struggles in that part of the ball game as well, but you know, John Lester has always had a difficult time throwing to the bases, but gives Rizzo a nice long hop over his first base.
It just really doesn't make sense.
It doesn't, does it?
How a pitcher could command all those pitches as he does and not be able to throw a ball to first base.
He never throws to first on a pickoff either, which is kind of perplexing why the Brewers aren't taking off on him. I know that David Ross is a pretty good throwing catcher, but the catcher can only do so much. If you get a big lead, you force him to throw over there, and that really takes him out of his game. Just try it once.
Brewers have had 2 base runners, Lucroy and Perez, and neither one of them attempting a steal. It's always been the story with Lester. He tries to combat that as best he can. Ross does throw behind the runners a lot. Lester will use a lot of holds and step offs and chopper to third base. Bryant over, and he throws one away. Segura is safe. Fortunate for the Cubs, that hit the padding of the dugout rail. Otherwise, Segura would be at second base.
Well, let's see if Segura tries to steal. This would be a good test. If Brewers have any indication or any desire to take off on Lester, Segura's the guy to get on first base. This will be an E5. And Chris Bryant with error number 14 on the season. And Starlin Castro has 18 errors, which is why he's no longer in the starting lineup in Chicago.
The Cubs about average to below average defensively, slightly below maybe overall. Their best defender is their shortstop Russell. Segura's got a huge lead. Lester staring at him. Segura starts, then stops, and Ross throws behind him. And that's how Ross tries to help his starting pitcher by keeping a base runner close.
Did they give him a single on that? I think the official scorer gave him a single.
They sure did.
Wow.
They announced E5. Now they've changed it to a single, an infield hit for Segura. He'll take it.
Boy. Okay.
Second Brewers hit. And now Lester throws over and throws it away. And Segura on his way to second. He was in a collision with Rizzo, knocked his helmet off. And I'm not sure if he's shaken up or not. He really didn't run hard to second. I thought he had a chance to make it to third base. But I think he might have been stunned a little bit.
It looked like he was running, and John Lester, that's not even close. I mean, that's what we've been talking about for 3 innings now. Guy just can't throw to the bases, so take advantage of it. And Segura able to get into scoring position with 1 out.
It'll be an E1. It's obviously psychological. You'd figured at some point a pitcher of his quality would be able to overcome that. Remember the Royals ran wild on him in the wild card game last year.
Yeah.
Of course, they ran wild on everybody pretty much. Well, now Lucroy's in a chance to tie this game up with a base hit, with the speedy Segura out at second.
Now, so after that, you think that Lester's going to throw to first base again today?
I think he won't. I think he might not throw to first base the rest of the month of August. That was his quota, 1 throw a month.
I think somebody was saying, or I read somewhere, he did not throw to a base, a pickoff throw to first base once all last year.
Didn't do it. Splitting time between the Red Sox and the A's.
So take advantage of it. Why not?
And if you're Segura right now, this is a golden opportunity to try to swipe third base. Get to third base with 1 out. Opens up some scoring chances. Segura's got a huge lead. And Lester, that's what he'll do.
Yeah, he won't throw, though. Exactly what you need to do to put pressure on Lester and really get into his head. Make him worry more about that base runner than the hitter. I mean, he's got as big a lead as you're ever going to see anybody. And he's going to get some more.
But he stays put, and Lucroy fouls it away.
Coughlin's forced to get closer to second base and opens up a bigger hole for Lucroy, who uses that hole very effectively.
And Lucroy takes one off the plate. Good take. That was close. 3 balls, 2 strikes now. Now, the game slows down significantly when Lester has runners on base. And another inside move scares Segura back.
Yeah, Segura not worried at all about Lester throwing over to second base. He's just going to step off and make him go back, but you continue to get a bigger and bigger lead because he's not going to throw over there.
And Lucroy, a swing and a miss. A strikeout. Cutter. Second time he struck him out. 2 outs in the inning now.
And watch this pitch go down and in on Lucroy as it gets to home plate. Right over the top of it.
So Ryan Braun with 2 away. And there goes Segura. Lester doesn't bother. Segura had a walking lead. And as Lester towed the rubber, he takes off. And Segura does make it to third base. A steal here. There he goes. Once he stepped into the rubber, he just said, all right, let's see if he'll make a throw.
No, he's not gonna, because if he throws it, he's probably going to throw it away, and Segura steal. It gets home.
I think the problem with this inning, though, I think, is that Segura didn't do it with Lucroy at the plate. That would have set up a better scoring chance for the Brewers, and he had the opportunity to run.
A lot more difficult, though, to steal third base than second base. Yeah, hold him close, and again, I mean, it's just the running game. The Brewers have to use the running game a lot today, and Segura is certainly doing that in this inning.
That's a 17th steal. Now Braun, chance to drive in a run.
You wonder what would happen if Segura just took off the home plate.
It seems like he throws to the plate all right.
As long as he's winding up. It's all about getting your feet underneath of you. Matt Garza struggles with that as well, but not to the extent of John Lester.
Just a mental block, right?
Yeah,
Something
right.
that in his mind doesn't allow his body to make that throw. A strike, 2-1.
Well, you've heard about the the thing they call it with position players. Some catchers have a difficult time throwing the ball back to the pitcher. And some infielders have had a difficult time. Chuck Knobloch, Steve Sachs over at second base.
There was a big league catcher who had the thing.
Johnny Rabb, Mackie Sasser.
Mackie Sasser. He could not throw the ball back to the pitcher.
Yeah.
Now he could throw to second base on an attempted steal, no problem. Throw to the bases on a bunt, but he just could not accurately throw the ball back to the pitcher.
He'd walk it back. He'd walk it up there, about to the cutoff of the grass and just flip it.
3 balls and a strike on Braun. Yeah, that one pouring in on the inner half, and Braun a swing and a miss. Remember, Lester struck out Braun with a sinking fastball last time. It tailed away from Braun. Nothing straight out of Lester's hand. Inside, outside, and it's got some velocity on it. See what he does. 3-2 pitch. And Braun a chopper. High chopper. Lester's not covering, and Braun will beat it out. Segura's in to score. Boy, Lester unraveling his own inning here in the third.
No, it all started with Chris Bryant and the hit that they gave to Segura that should have been an out. Then he threw a ball away at first. Segura steals third without a throw. And now a mental mistake by Lester not covering.
Well, you can just see it in his body language right now. Now he is bothered by what has happened. And he's just watching. I think he thought maybe it was going foul. I'm not sure, but
yeah, not even close. He's got to bust it over to first base as soon as that ball's hitting that direction.
Look at Braun's lead now. Huge lead. Lester deals home. Braun takes off. Ross's throw is too late. Stolen base for Braun. He runs right away.
I've never seen a lead that big. I mean, he was way off the cutoff of the grass at first base. A ridiculously huge lead by Ryan Braun. Look where he is. Are you kidding? Ross makes it pretty close too. A good throw. It might be close, but Braun able to get to second base.
2 outs, runner at second for Davis, and he takes a ball. And if you're the Brewers, you're hoping that all of this activity on the base paths is affecting how Lester will pitch, because he is clearly rattled by all of this. Brewers have 2 infield hits, a run in to tie it. Davis trying to put him ahead. And Braun takes off again. Davis fouls it away. Now Ryan's racking up a bunch of stolen bases this year as well to go along with his 20 home runs. He has 17 stolen bases. Got a chance at a 20-20 season, maybe a 30-20 season. He's got a stolen base here if he wants one. And he goes, and Davis takes, and the throw to third, one hops. Braun steals third base. A good throw, and the Cubs have an out at third.
Yeah, that was on David Ross right there. I mean, Ryan didn't have a very good jump, and that's the thing. I mean, stealing third a little bit different than stealing second base. Taken off, and a good throw by Ross, and he's out, and out easily at third.
And a sigh for David Ross. He knows that was on him. So runner at third base with 2 away. Count is 3-1 on Chris Davis. And he walks him. 2 infield hits, now a walk. First and third with Jason Rogers coming up.
And don't think John Lester is thinking about Chris Davis taking off at first and third.
Chris Bosio on his way out.
And he's probably going to go out and tell Lester, forget about the base runners, let them run all they want. You just make your pitches and get out of this mess. Because John Lester, as much experience as he's had, as much success as he's had, even in the postseason, seems to be shaken up. And you wonder why every team doesn't do this.
Right. Well, it's paid off for the Brewers here. They've been able to steal a run. 3 stolen bases in the inning. Braun over at third, has 2 swipes. And we'll see if Chris Davis will be on the move as well. He's got a big lead. And he takes off. They let him run. Ross goes to third. Ryan wasn't quite ready for it. So the 4th stolen base of the inning. Davis steals second base. That's just his 2nd of the year.
Yeah, why not take it? They're giving it to him. Everybody running.
And the pitch to Rogers was a ball. 1-0. Rogers in the air, right field, and that one's going to stay in. Soler makes a catch. The inning is over, but the Brewers have a game plan. They tie it up against Lester with the running game. 4 steals. They get a run to tie it. And we head to the bottom of the 3rd. And a reminder here that the Bucks half-season ticket packages, which include playoff priority and award-winning customer service from a dedicated account rep, are on sale now. You can secure your same great seat for every game you attend next season. If it's a half season or a full season, you can own the future with a package that is right for your schedule or budget. FoxSportsWisconsin.com. You can click on the upcoming events tab for more information. Tyler Cravey on the mound. And now a 1-1 game. Cravey giving up a run last inning.
I was just told in my ear that the last time the Bucks had a home opener to start the season was Michael Jordan's rookie season.
Wow.
Wonder why that would be. What's that, 1980 what, 4, 5?
I feel like the Bucks for many years gave away their home openers to maybe get weekend games. I don't know the whole story there, but usually the league disperses the home openers around, but for whatever reason the Bucks didn't do that or haven't done that.
A true NBA guy would know that. I didn't know that. That was just luck of the draw.
I actually just made that up, so I hope that's true.
That same voice that told me about the home opener thing just told me you were right.
You give up the home opener for a home date on Saturday, right? Fowler rips one right field. That is a foul ball out onto Sheffield.
Our producer Brad Weimer, he knows everything, you know.
Yes, he does. And what he doesn't know, he is an extremely fast Googler. (3-2) to Fowler. On the ground, right to Rogers, and he'll take it himself for the first out of the inning. Well, Brewers fantasy camp is right around the corner. When it's all snowy and cold, there's green grass and blue skies in Phoenix, Arizona for you. 2 games a day. It's one of the best times you'll have. As a 2-time fantasy camper, I can promise you that.
Yep, go to the Brewers website /fantasy camp or call 414-321-8605. And we've actually had some neat things planned for the ladies if they want to join the guys. Not that women can't sign up and play. We have a number of them that play. A lot of neat stuff planned this year.
Could you give us maybe an example of one of the neat things?
There's going to be a spa day for the ladies.
I see.
Are you interested in maybe attending the spa day? I can bring you in for it.
That's not a bad thought. I will tell you that the deep tissue massage and the athletic trainers' workmanship are very important at fantasy camp, because there are plenty of sore muscles, and you really won't walk the same for a week or 2 after.
But our trainers are not involved in Ladies' Day.
Oh, they're not involved in that. This is like a relaxing spa. I see.
Massage, mani-pedi.
This is not like pushing out the bruises and the knotted muscles.
No.
And the 53-degree ice bath. I know Sophia's interested, but she's not of age just yet.
Yeah, we can make special arrangements.
Oh, really? I would like to see that.
Yeah, she's got a couple of years left, right?
What, Cravey's really not getting the calls on that comeback sinker, and that's what he needs to be effective.
And he needs the pitch that's down in his zone. He needs the low strike to be called, but Mark Carlson refuses to give it to him.
Back in there again, and he walks Schwarber. Changes everything for Cravey when he's not getting that call. It affects how he attacks a hitter, and that time he misses to Schwarber.
Well, his game is down in his zone with good sink. If he's not getting that pitch, he's forced to get it upstairs, and that's when he gets hit.
Cravey is 26 years of age. This is his 5th appearance and his 4th start. His first career major league start was against the St. Louis Cardinals, and that was back on June 2nd. He went 7 innings and just 1 run. He pitched well but took the loss. Lance Lynn beat him that day, 1-0.
There's that low strike. Now you got to tip your hat to the Cubs hitters. They're not chasing that pitch that's down around the knees.
One out, runner at first. Coughlin at the plate. One ball, one strike. Cravey trying to sneak a breaking ball in there. Man, that looks like a good pitch too, according to Fox
good pitches, and Mark Carlson refuses to call them.
And that one right in the middle of the zone, but right to Davis in left.
Well, you're forced to throw it up there, right? You're not getting the low strike. You're forced to throw it up in the zone, and those become much easier to make contact on. Fortunate for Cravey that Coughlin hit it right at Davis and left.
Game is a much better game when strikes are strikes. Hitters become more aggressive. Game flows better, better rhythm. Here's Anthony Rizzo. Rizzo a 2 away. Shift is on, and a swing and a miss, a changeup. Beauty.
Got a good one, doesn't he? Basically a fastball changeup for Cravey. Got the big shift on for Rizzo.
Rizzo and Schwarber get the shift treatment. Oh, and 2 the count. There's a very small window to find Rizzo's hole as a hitter. That's on the inner half. But if you miss, Rizzo has the big power to do damage. He stands right on top of the plate. And that ball's ripped into center field, but right there is Logan Schaefer, and the inning comes to an end. A scoreless frame for Cravey, 1-1. We're all tied as we head to the 4th.
What's below? Call 811 before you dig. Diggers Hotline. Back at Wrigley Field, we head to the 4th, all even at 1. And John Lester has been at the top of his game since the All-Star break, 3-0, an ERA of 1.84. And we were talking to Craig Counsell before the game about getting to Lester, and he said certainly he's a great pitcher at the top of his game right now, but they're more worried about playing a quality game. He said we don't have the ability to overcome a lot of mistakes right now. He said we certainly need to take advantage anytime Lester makes one. He said as well as he's been pitching, they felt there were some cracks there that they could expose, and you saw maybe some of that in the last inning, the 4 stolen bases in the running game.
Well, and again, the Brewers, it seems like every time they make a mistake lately, the opposition is jumping on them, whether it be defensively or base running mistakes. We saw that in last night's ball game, a base running mistake by Scooter at third base.
There's a hot ground ball right to Bryant. Makes a nice play, and Elian Herrera is out number 1 for Lester.
You got to play good solid baseball against contending teams in close games. You just can't make mistakes and expect to win.
By the way, that throw to first base by Lester was his first throw to first since April.
Yeah.
And he committed an error that allowed Segura to go to second. Segura then stole third. Braun stole second and third. And then Davis reached and stole second. As Perez goes down the line foul into the Cubs bullpen. And a wave and a miss. I'm sure there's a little more urgency for Lester to keep runners off base. Every pitcher wants to keep runners off base, but the way Lester's pickoff situation is going right now maybe puts a little bit of extra pressure on him. And he strikes out Perez. Ross dropped the ball. They'll have to secure it at first. He does so. And there is out number 2.
And that brings us to today's Tower of the Game winners. The Office Bar in Ashland, if they call the Brewers in the next 24 hours, they get 40 Miller Lite beer pen tickets to a 2015 Brewers home game. This offer courtesy of the Tavern League of Wisconsin and Miller Lite.
We welcome all of those from Ashland watching the broadcast today. Gorgeous afternoon. Some good summer heat going here in August. Schaefer swinging a foul back.
And the Blue Angels must be done. It's awfully quiet around here.
I was kind of hoping for about a 3-hour performance today during our broadcast.
They blow through the gas. Jet fuel, I would imagine they have to refuel quite often.
It's good money well spent. There's a strike to Schaefer. Quickly 0-2 on him. And they'll ask. He did not go. Checked his swing. 1-2 the count.
And that's tough duty for Logan Schaefer, the only left-hander in the lineup today for the Brew Crew.
He's been dying for a spot in the batting order, and he gets one today with John Lester on the mound. Second start for Schaefer since he returned from the minor leagues.
There it goes, right?
Sure, kid, you can get a start. Go ahead. Inside, he missed. 2-2.
He turned that front knee in hopes that that ball would scrape his knee and get first base.
And he got him. So back to the breaking ball. And 6 strikeouts for Lester has a 1-2-3 fourth inning. Wisconsin is brought to you by Miller Lite, the original light Pilsner. Cheers, it's Miller time. And by the Wisconsin Lottery, reminding you to please play responsibly. The second city, Chicago, Illinois, and we're here on the north side, just a few miles from downtown, Wrigley Field. All tied at 1, final game of the series. Brewers losing the first 2 and trying to salvage one before they head back home. Tomorrow night, the Phillies are coming in. Weekend series with the Phillies and then the Miami Marlins. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. Beautiful day for baseball on a Thursday afternoon. Tyler Cravey starts his 4th inning of work. Gave up a run on 2 hits in the second. He's walked 3. He's looking for a clean inning. Has not had a 1-2-3 frame yet. Chris Bryant starts it, and a liner foul.
Yeah, the Brewers go home to play the Phillies. The Cubs have a rough road trip coming up. Have to go all the way to play the White Sox. That's about 8 miles away.
You know, the Cubs are in a stretch of 20 straight games in Chicago.
Yeah.
And 17 of those are here at Wrigley Field. The other 3 on the south side against the White Sox. So this is their time to shine, and they've taken advantage of it. Cubs have won 6 in a row. They've won 11 of 12. One and 2 the count on Bryant.
And they're in the dead heat with the Pirates right now for that first wild card spot.
Having won 13 of their last 15 games. Been on a great run to move into that wild card number 2 spot. Game and a half behind Pittsburgh. 4.5 clear of the Giants. Central Division's looking like a 3-division postseason this year again. It was the same last year and the year before that. Cubs at 64 and 48. 1.5 back of the Pirates. Bryant into center field. That's going to stay in. And Schaefer makes a catch for out number 1.
Hey, this Sunday is Jonathan Lucroy bobblehead day at Miller Park. All fans in attendance for the weekend finale between the Brewers and the Phillies. Will get a special bobblehead commemorating the catcher's record-setting 2014 season. That's courtesy of Quick Trip. Go to Brewers.com to reserve your spot today.
Pretty light schedule in the big leagues today. There are already 2 finals. And the other 2 hot teams in the league besides the Cubs have both won today. The Mets roughed up the Rockies 12-3. Noah Syndergaard pitched and won again. Terrific rookie. Soler a swing and a miss. Today in New York, Syndergaard went 7 innings, 3 runs. And a lopsided win for the Mets. The Blue Jays won again. They beat Oakland.
They play the Yankees this weekend.
Toronto has won 11 straight games. They say Soler win. And that makes it 0-2.
Yankees Toronto this weekend in Toronto.
Sold out every game of the weekend. It's going to be packed at the Rogers Center. And right now the Blue Jays with a 1-game lead. Yankees play tonight. They are in Cleveland taking on the Indians. And speaking of the Indians, the Blue Jays with an 11-game winning streak, which is their 2nd this season. First time that's happened. 2 winning streaks of 11 games or more in the same year since the '54 Cleveland Indians.
It's almost impossible to think you can do that once, let alone twice.
Today it was Burley who got the win for the Blue Jays. Toronto got a break. Sonny Gray was scheduled to start. He was a scratch. So Jesse Chavez started instead, and Toronto winning at 4-2. Those are the 2 finals. There's 1 game in progress besides ours. The Twins hosting the Rangers, tied at 5 in the 8th. Then you got Yankees, Indians, Pirates, Cardinals, Kansas City hosting the Angels. Dodgers host the Reds, and also out west the Giants host the Nationals. 9 games on the schedule today. Two to Soler into left center on the run. Davis, he's got it for the out.
He's strong, isn't he? He hit that ball down on the end. Still put a pretty good charge into it. Chris Davis able to run under it.
They have walk-up music now here at Wrigley. Not something they've had in the past. With the new scoreboard and sound system. And David Ross, who's 38 years of age, his walk-up music is Forever Young. But it sounds like it's a cut that he did a cross mix on with maybe like an 8-track device. It's an old sound. Not that I'm here naming walk-up songs.
But you are.
I just
it's okay though.
Just noticed that one. It's weird here to have walk-up music at Wrigley.
And especially the pregame music. Used to be the nice organ. You hear the organ, one of the old classic sounds in the ballpark. You don't hear very much.
It's like Club Wrigley now before the games.
It's like Studio 890, whatever it's called. What is that in New York?
Studio 54.
Yeah, whatever.
That'd be like the discotheque in your era, Rob.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You're going with the discotheque.
Yeah, that's what I get.
The roller tech.
The old club back at Clemson. They called it the bookstore.
I tell you what, they crank a little ABBA in there. You'd be all in.
I mean, that'd be my walk-up music.
Dancing Queen. Here he comes. See the Cubs backing out a little bit. Cravey's trying to get in his motion a little quicker than they want.
Yeah, trying to find that good rhythm, trying to work quickly. You got to slow him down. That's the idea. Get a pitcher out there that's working very fast.
And a 3-2 in the air to right field. Sliding over is Braun, and he's got it. And there's a 1-2-3 inning for Tyler Cravey. 4 in the books at Wrigley, all tied at 1. To work as we go to the Brewer half of the 5th inning. Our Carsoup.com trivia. What is the highest number of rookies to start a game for the Brewers in franchise history? We'll include the pitcher in that. Cubs are starting 4 rookies in their 8 position players pretty much every day. Schwarber and Bryant, Soler and Russell. Those are the two starters there. Jake Arrieta, who beat the Giants Sunday, and then yesterday's starter Jason Hamill. Ready to play here in the 5th inning. Lester to face his mound opponent today, Tyler Cravey. Lester coming off a 3-up 3-down inning, now has 6 strikeouts. Had 2 punch outs last inning.
I remember back in '84 I was one of 4 rookies on the Brewers ball club. I'm not sure if that's the answer to the question. Myself, Randy Reddy, Deion James, and Jaime Coconella.
All right.
I'm sure we were on the starting lineup at one point.
At some point it had to happen. 1983 that was.
Was it 83?
Was it? I'm guessing.
No.
Probably. Your official rookie year was 84?
84.
There's a strike to Cravey. And Lester strikes him out. So that's 3 consecutive Ks for Lester. Gives him 7 and 1 away here in the 5th.
Hey, make sure you're at Miller Park this Saturday night as the Goo Goo Dolls take the stage to perform a free post-game concert following the Brewers matchup against the Phillies. Tickets are still available by calling 414-902-4000. We're going to brewers.com/concerts, the last of the 3 concerts in the concert series at Miller Park this year.
Segura takes a strike from Lester. Segura kind of got it all going in the 3rd inning. He had an infield hit. He then reached second on a throwing error, almost daring Lester to throw to first base. And then he stole third base, and then he was able to score on an infield hit by Ryan Braun. And that was a play Lester forgot to cover the bag at first. Chopper to third. That's over third and into left field. Segura with a big turn on his way to second. Schwarber bobbles the ball. And Gene Segura into second base with 1 out.
Well, those 2 hits for Segura today. He got a hit with 1 out in the 3rd inning on a ball that looked like should have been an error on Bryan. Then bounced one over his head. And right down the line. That's Bryan playing in, thinking that Segura might drop down a bunt.
Schwarber picked his head up.
He knew right away that he was going to be thinking about a double. He was going regardless of whether Schwarber had the ball in his glove or not.
So a double for Segura. And let's see if he's running right away. Lucroy at the plate, 1 man out. Brewers trying to take the lead here in the 5th. Big lead by Segura. Lester pauses. There goes Segura. Lucroy swings. The throw to third is in time. David Ross cuts down a base runner. Perfect throw to third base.
Yeah, a little different when you're trying to steal third base. A little easier for the catcher to get a throw off. Not as long a throw.
Look at that reaction by Ross.
Yeah, we did it. We did it. You and I, we did it, John. He was at a dead stop. He didn't have a walking lead and pretty close at third base, but Brewers aren't going to challenge it. Perfect throw, and Bryan applies the tag.
So no challenge, takes away a 1-out double. Now 2 men are out. Lucroy in an 0-1 count. Lucroy has struck out twice. Lester's given him fits. He did reach his first time up. Lester had a wild pitch that allowed Lucroy to reach.
Both times getting him cutters.
Lucroy is one of the few Brewers that have actually seen Lester. Lind has the most at-bats against him. He's not in the lineup today. Primarily because he is 3 for 29 in his career, 103 batting average. Lucroy does have a hit off Lester in his career. He's 1 for 5 now. And the 2-2 is dribbled foul. Braun waiting next. Would love an at bat here in this 5th inning. And Lucroy stays alive.
It just continues to go in and out. I mean, fastballs away, cutters down and in on the right-handed hitters. Not really elevating the fastball a whole lot today.
Pitch number 8 against Lucroy, and a swing and a foul. Hanging tough. Just hoping for that one mistake. And with the wind blowing out, Lucroy certainly has the pop to hit one out of here. It's one thing about Lucroy's swing, and he's not having a great year offensively, but his swing, it's built for up the middle and right field, but it's such a good swing that he has pop with 2 out or 2 strikes.
He gets in trouble when he tries to get a little bit too pull conscious. Maybe not consciously. Gets out in front trying to jump at it. Maybe a little press going on.
And a good take. Lucroy draws a walk. So a 9-pitch at bat for Jonathan Lucroy. He is aboard. And you wonder if Lucroy is going to be attempting a steal.
And the second walk for John Lester. He doesn't walk many, only 36 walks now in 23 starts.
At the plate, presented by Wendy's. Braun with an RBI single his last time up. A big chopper to first. Lester forgot to cover the bag, and Braun beat it easily. That tied the game. 2 outs with Braun at the plate. Lucroy does not look like he's in a running mood.
Well, you don't want to get thrown out if you can get a good jump, but Ryan Braun, you're home run hitter. You don't want to be making outs on the bases with him up at the plate.
And Braun into right field, a base hit. Lucroy will stay put. Big arm out there by Soler. And a walk and a single. The Brewers with a double, a walk, and a single the last 3 hitters. Boy, that caught stealing is standing up tall right now. Lester in trouble, first and second. 2 men are out, however. And here is Chris Davis.
Yeah, both times the Brewers have tried to steal third base. Should have been out. They did get one, but Ross's bad throw on the first. With Ryan Braun running, he was able to steal it.
Davis walked and stole a base his last time up. Powerball home run leaderboard. Davis is on that list, 3rd on the club. Lind homered here on Tuesday night. Braun last night.
Just get one up in the air, get some good wood on it, and see if the wind can push it out of here.
Throw to first, and Rizzo just there. Ross knows he's got to throw behind runners. He does that a lot. Always has with Lester on the mound. That's one of the ways they try to limit the running game. Plus, David said it helps him stay loose.
Well, catchers with good throwing arms are going to throw behind runners, but even more important with a guy like Lester out there, you got to have a little bit the element of doubt in the base runner's mind. If Lester didn't throw behind runners, these guys would be just taking huge leads, not worrying too much about getting back. And that in itself will shorten you up a little bit.
Pitch count at 80 as we play with 2 outs in the 5th. 2 on, 2 out. And Davis up front. Davis elevated into the cleanup spot here today with Lind on the bench. Profiles as a cleanup hitter. Big power. And a strike in there. 2-2. Got him. Davis got caught looking. A strikeout to end it. The Brewers strand a pair. Still tied at 1. Cubs are coming to bat.
Presented by Digger's Hotline. Know what's below. Call 811 before you dig. Digger's Hotline. A 1-1 game in the series finale between the Brewers and the Cubs here in the 5th at Wrigley Field. And the Milwaukee Brewers Community Involvement Initiative, known as the Community Achievers Award, will recognize residents throughout the state of Wisconsin each month during the season for displaying extraordinary efforts in their community. All adults and school-age children throughout the state are eligible to participate in the Community Achievers Award.
All right, Sophia, thanks. Good cause for the crew in the community. And here we go to the bottom of the 5th at Wrigley. Last game of this series. Brewers will see the Cubs once again at Wrigley Field back in, or in September, I should say, next month. Tyler Cravey matching up with John Lester. All tied at 1. Lester leads off. Lester, a strikeout victim his last time up. And as a pitcher, he has 8 strikeouts. Gravy has 3. There's a ground ball to second base. 4 out, number 1. Well, as promised earlier in the game, we have selected the Data Strong fan photo of the game. Tweet your strongest fan photo to hashtag #WisDataStrongFan. Brought to you by T-Mobile. Our thanks to Charlie. He's up there in the Euchre seats. Thank you, Charlie. Thanks for playing along. We'll see Bob Euchre tomorrow. He'll be back on the air. Jeff Levering filling in for him well. here at Wrigley Field. Levering's first trip to Wrigley. I guess Joe Block is filling in for Euchre. Jeff Levering's filling in for Joe Block, who's filling in for Bob Euchre over on the Brewers radio side. And the guy who's always there is Kent Sommerfeld.
Right. Yeah, so Joe doing 6 innings.
Joe Block's got 6. He's going to be exhausted after this 3 days.
Yes. Wait till we get those long road trips in September.
Joe Block occupies his time between his innings by tweeting out fun facts. They're pretty interesting. Some trivia. Russell takes a strike from Cravey.
In between innings when he's on the air?
I think when he's between words, maybe.
Wow.
Between balls in play.
It's impressive.
And Russell draws a walk. That's a 1-out walk. Snaps a string of 6 in a row retired by Cravey.
And 4th walk issued by Tyler today. 4 walks and only 2 hits.
10 out of 11 retired until that walk. And so now top of the order with a man on. Here is Dexter Fowler.
Yeah, the hits came back to back in the 2nd inning.
Fowler's a tough guy to double up. He's got to hit one right at an infielder. And now Lucroy quickly on his way out again. I wonder what goes through a pitcher's mind when he sees a catcher almost running out towards him before he even catches the pitch.
He must have seen something. That's always a good thing for a pitcher, because the catcher, has something definitive to say. Hey, I've seen something here. Do this, and we're going to be okay. It's all about having confidence in your catcher. Either that, or he's thinking, "Oh no, here he comes again."
Here he comes again. What am I doing wrong?
I'd rather be on the former.
What would Pete Vukovich have said to you had you run out to the mound?
Well, I did that a couple of times, and before I got halfway there, he shushed me back.
He sneezed at you.
Yeah, he would always say to me, "The only thing you know about hitting is that you can't do it." All in good fun, though. All in good fun.
I'm guessing Pete Vukovich had quite the game face and the game day aura.
Yeah. Don't mess with him. Like he always looks like you shouldn't mess with him, but you can when he's not pitching.
Especially on that day. A slow buildup of mean.
Nicest guy I'll ever meet once you get to know him, but that's a tough thing to do, break that exterior.
We were in Pittsburgh the other day. There was a writer came down and sat by Pete Vukovich, who's a scout now, so we see him every now and then. And this writer came down and he goes, "Pete, mind if I join you? I haven't seen you in a while." And without a beat, Vukovich says, "That's on purpose. I plan my schedule.
I know your schedule.
I know your schedule." I know your schedule.
I had lunch with Vukovich when we were in Pittsburgh. Good times.
Fowler out in front.
That was back in the day where you were a player, you needed to have thick skin. Guys get on each other pretty hard, and once they determined that you had a weak spot,
it's over.
It was all over.
Now, when you came up to the big leagues, did you know that? Did you have a sense of that?
Well, I spent some time with these guys in spring training. Yeah.
Fowler rips one deep right center. Braun looks up, and that one, I believe, is up and out of here. No, it's off the wall.
They think it's a home run.
They do, and they're not running, and now a throw comes all the way to the plate. And in to score is Russell. I think it went out as well. We'll see. I think it hit the back or the front wall there behind the basket.
Yeah, because I don't think that if it hits the top of the basket, it's going to come back into play. I mean, there's poles coming out, but it's all netting.
And they just showed the replay here, and that was clearly a home run.
Yeah, there it is off of that back wall and back onto the field of play, and it's a home run.
So this one isn't going to take long here. That's going to be a 2-run home run for Dexter Fowler. The umpires are.
Why not just go to the replay?
Umpires haven't gone to a review yet, but they certainly can, and they will, and the crew chief will head on out.
Yeah, really no sense in getting together these days, is there?
They got together last night, changed the play over at first without a challenge or a review. Fowler's going to have his 12th homer. And that one hurts. That gives the Cubs the lead. So they'll check it. Fowler started running. The umpires haven't given a signal yet. He's just watching the replay on the giant scoreboard that was just installed here. The umpire facing us is Mark Carlson. He's a crew chief. He'll be the one to make the call. And the calling umpire is Gabe Morales with his back to us.
Well, second base or first base umpires didn't go out all that far.
I looked down at Morales, the first base umpire. He immediately put palms down as if to say ball still at play.
Right, and I guess if you're not sure, you keep it in play. You can always call home run. A lot easier to set base runners when you let the play go and let it play itself out. You can always just call a home run and everybody scores. When in doubt, call it in play. I would imagine that's the theory. That ball looked clearly like it's beyond. That yellow line is the edge of the basket. It looks like it goes over that, off the wall, and back into the field of play.
So this is taking a little longer than it should. I mean, we're looking at it here, and it looks like a clear.
Fans going after it right there.
The question, I guess, the line of the basket is the line for the home run.
Right. And I can't imagine why it's taken so long, but we've been surprised before in these replays.
Well, these umpires here are at the mercy of the replay challenge center in New York.
Right. Well, the other thing is, I mean, if it hits the top of the basket and it comes in, don't you think the basket netting would be shaking around a little bit?
Call on the field is a double. A run scores.
And if it hits off the basket like that, it's not going to bounce that far back into fair territory. That's a net, right?
So here comes the call. And that is a home run.
Well, that took far too long. I don't know why it took that long. We could see that right away. That was a home run. And Dexter Fowler gets a 4-bagger.
Two-run home run for Fowler gives the Cubs a 3-1 lead. So here is Schwarber now. Cravey has walked 4 today. 2 of them have scored. Counsell does have activity in his bullpen. Corey Knebel. A 1-1 game when this inning started. Dexter Fowler, a leadoff hitter with some pop in his bat. That ball is hammered. Center field, way back there, and that one's gone. Long out of here. Back-to-back home runs for the Cubs. Schwarber with his 7th. And it is 4-1 Chicago.
Well, he's struggled in this series on fastballs up. And Cravey gave him a fastball down the middle, down in the zone, and he hammers it out of here. Fastballs up, changeups have given him problems and breaking pitches in this series. First hit for him in this 3-game series.
Had been 0 for 9 until that home run. So that's going to do it for Cravey. He will exit in the 5th inning. And Counsell has to go to his bullpen early. 4-1 Cubs. Corey Knebel coming in. We'll take a timeout. Set up the new pitcher after this. Cubs have 3 on the board in this inning, and they've given John Lester a 4-1 lead as Knebel tries to restore order here in the 5th.
Knebel in his 2nd appearance in the series pitched on Tuesday, the first game of this series, 2/3. He gave up actually he hit a batter, no runs. So 5th inning has not been very kind to Tyler Cravey in his last 2 starts. Gave up a 6th spot against the Cardinals. And today 3 runs in the 5th inning.
Back-to-back home runs for Fowler and Schwarber after a 1-out walk. The benefit of a call there on that 1-1 pitch. Cravey certainly didn't get those edges.
Well, he didn't get the low strike is what he didn't get.
And right back out there. Wow, Coughlin not pleased with the home plate umpire Mark Carlson, who gives Knebel the edges, and that's the 2nd out of the inning. Good start for Knebel.
And he's got the good velocity, the good curveball, and able to find that outside corner on that last pitch.
Here's Rizzo now with 2 away. Rizzo walked and scored in the 2nd. He lined out to center in the 3rd. He hit one right on the button. An all-star for the 2nd consecutive season, Anthony Rizzo. These next hitters for the Cubs, the next 3, Rizzo, Bryant, and Soler, it's a perfect symbol of how the Cubs have built their roster. Rizzo was acquired via trade. He had bounced from Boston to San Diego and then San Diego to Chicago. He was in the Andrew Cashner deal. And the link for that is Jed Hoyer, their general manager, was with Theo Epstein in Boston, and Rizzo was a prospect there. He went to San Diego, did Hoyer. So he was able to acquire Rizzo to be a Padre. Into center field, hit well. And that one's not coming back. Rizzo with the 3rd home run of the inning for the Cubs. His 22nd. A solo shot to center field, and Rizzo gives Chicago a 5-1 lead. And a 4-run inning.
And a fastball down the middle, right at the knees. And check it out. Look at Rizzo. Boy, that's his wheelhouse for him. Down, out over the plate, and knocks it out of here to center field. So a couple of center field home runs. That's what Wrigley Field will do. Wind blows out, you get those home runs. Wind blowing in, they're outs.
And now Bryant. Knebel misses with a curveball. You know, Rizzo was acquired via trade. Bryant is homegrown. He was drafted in the 1st round in 2013 out of the University of San Diego. And then Soler was heavily scouted as an international player. He is from Cuba, and he signed a 9-year contract with the Cubs, a free agent contract.
Doing it in a lot of different ways, right? Building this roster.
It shows you that they're making shrewd trades. They have enough money to sign a guy like Soler. There are very few teams that were involved with the kind of dollars that Soler signed for. And then they're doing it through the draft and player development as well. And now they've emerged, and all these pieces are coming together now. And then they went and signed Lester. And they look like they've got a real shot this year. Bryant grounds out to end the inning. A 4-run outburst for the Cubs on 3 homers. Their Cubs lead. Our Carsoup.com trivia: what is the highest number of rookies to start a game for the Brewers in franchise history, including the pitcher? Cubs start 4 rookies regularly. 7 is the answer in Brewers franchise history, and it has been done in this era. 2012 October, one of the last games of the year. You had Aoki and Schaefer, Maldonado, Taylor Green, Segura, Bianchi, Thornburg all starting. And then the other 4, well, there are 4 other occasions in 1973 when the Brewers started 7 rookies.
So 4 wasn't even close, huh?
Not even close. Gorman Thomas was part of that group. Pedro Garcia, Bobby Mitchell, Charlie Moore. Some names from the past. But none of those teams were contending teams like the Cubs have. So that's where it becomes very interesting. And it's not just that they're random starts and all the stars line up and you get all these rookies. They're regulars. They're in there every day pretty much.
And they're going to be in there every day.
Herrera just came in for defensive purposes. He makes a catch for the out. Madden removes Coughlin from the game. And Knebel able to get through the 5th. Kyle Lohse getting loose in the bullpen. Here's Herrera, the switch hitter.
Lester with a lead now, able to mix in some changeups. Didn't see many of those early in the game. Changeups, curveballs. A little more willing to mix it up a little bit.
And with a 5-1 lead, that really hampers the Brewers' running game, what they'd be willing to do on the bases, even though it worked effectively in the 3rd inning. You got to take that part out now and just try to get base runners. That's down the line. That is fair, and it will roll to the wall. Elian Herrera on his way to second, and he'll settle for a double. A 1-out double for Herrera.
Yeah, Lester coming inside, and Herrera turns that one around nicely. Hit the ball pretty well his first time up. Flied out deep into left center. This time able to center on one. Lester trying to come inside. He got it in there, but good piece of hitting by Herrera. To turn it around down the left field line.
Here's Perez now, who singled off Lester in the 2nd inning. Lester came back to strike him out in the 4th. In the air, left field, hit well. Schwarber can't get it. It's off the top of the wall. Herrera round 3rd, and he will score as Hernan Perez with an RBI. And it's 5-2 Chicago. Perez with his 2nd hit off Lester.
Yeah, keep swinging it. Down to the bottom of the order, they've hit some pretty good swings. Perez with his 2nd hit. First pitch from Lester, very similar to the pitch that Herrera hit down the line in left field. Able to hit this one over the head of Schwarber out in left. That was a cut fastball as well. And Herrera able to score easily. And Brewers have out hit the Cubs 7-5.
Here's Logan Schaefer now. Shows a bunt, bunts it foul. Even in the loss yesterday, the Brewers out hit the Cubs 6-4, but lost 3-2 in 10 innings. Cubs just had an outburst in the 5th with 3 home runs. Fowler hit a 2-run shot. Schwarber and Rizzo with solo homers.
And the Cubs had 2 home runs yesterday.
Mott getting loose in the Cubs bullpen. There goes Perez. Ross is thrown to second is late, and another steal for Milwaukee. So there's an answer to a question. Brewers are not throttling down the running game. They're staying aggressive. The 5th steal of the day for Milwaukee.
And no chance for David Ross. You have a chance when you're trying to steal third base. At least catcher has a better chance. Not as long a throw. Pretty much uncontested the steals of second base today.
Got a runner in scoring position with 1 away. Schaefer fouls it away, was late. Lester's been on a great run since the All-Star break. ERA of 1.84 and 3 wins in his 4 starts since the break. Sure, there's a lot of pressure involved, especially when you come to Chicago. Sign that big free agent contract this offseason. And Joe Maddon said he's settling in now. He's starting to get comfortable in his surroundings.
Yeah, he went 10 starts without a win. That's a long stretch.
He's got a long history with Theo Epstein, now the president of the Cubs, and their general manager Jed Hoyer. So reunited with them. They were all together in Boston. Beat the Giants his last time out. He's got a lead on the Brewers here today. Inside corner, a called strike. Schaefer is rung up. 9th strikeout for John Lester.
Yep, on a front door cutter. It's a tough angle for a pitcher to be able to drop that pitch right on the inside corner. And you see it looks like it caught the edge, and Mark Carlson's giving Lester the edges, something he didn't give to Tyler Cravey early in the game.
Lester's done a lot in his career. He's been great in the postseason. He's got a 3-0 record in the World Series. He's been an All-Star 3 times. Threw a no-hitter. 2 World Series titles, both with the Red Sox. Last year he was traded from Boston to Oakland. That was a trade deadline deal. And if you combine his Red Sox and Athletics numbers, he was 16-11 and a 2.46 ERA last year. 32 starts. Snap throw to second. Perez is back.
Yep, all that success, and he's looking to even his record against the Brewers. He's lost 2 of 3 decisions.
I remember the Brewers beat him at Fenway one year.
That Guitarist with a big home run.
That's right. Yeah, his former catcher and teammate Guitarist, who had come to the Brewers.
And a 2-run shot.
I remember it well. I believe that was 08, wasn't it? 2008 maybe?
Somewhere around there. Probably right.
The year the Brewers made the playoffs. Early in the season. Peterson, a wave and a miss.
Yeah, the only reason that Guitarist was in the game because Randy Wolf started it against the Red Sox.
That's right. Good one.
Speaking of pitchers that like to throw to a certain catcher, Lester and Ross, Wolf and Guitarist.
Lester's got Peterson, the pinch hitter, in the hole, 1-2. Perez at second. Tough duty pinch hitting. Peterson's been great in this role this year. Earned his way into the starting lineup. Swinging a foul in and out of the mid of David Ross. There was a stretch this season in the middle of the year when Peterson got called up. He had 6 consecutive pinch hit appearances with base hits. That is really hard to do. 6 for 6 in pinch hit at bats.
And a guy with not a lot of experience, that is impressive.
And a lot of that came against left-handed pitching. See if he can drive one in. Fouls it off.
And one of the reasons right there shows he stays right on it. Pitch right on the corner. Doesn't try and pull it. Keeps that front shoulder closed and fights off tough pitches. We'll see what Lester gives him here.
The Cubs just scored 4 runs in the 5th. They lead 5-2 now. The Brewers answered with 1 here in the 6th on an RBI single by Perez, who is now at second base. 2 outs. 3-2 the count.
Got a good eye at the plate. Nice to get on and get the top of the order back to the plate.
Well, the Brewers have had some base runners against Lester. They've had men on base in every inning but the fourth. And Lester really slows it down when he has men on base. That was always the knock on him in Boston, his pace. Full count to Peterson. And there goes Perez. Peterson swings and misses. A slow curveball from Lester got him. 10 punch outs for John Lester. 5-2 Cubs. As we head to the Cubs half of the sixth inning. And a reminder that Fox Sports Supports is proud to team up with Boys and Girls Clubs of America. Boys and Girls Clubs help young people reach their full potential as productive, caring, and responsible citizens through programs that promote character and leadership, education, healthy lifestyles, and more. And for more information, visit foxsportsupports.com. Kyle Loesch will get the ball here in the bottom of the sixth inning. I'm sure counsel would like to get Loesch at least a couple of innings here.
And unless the Brewers get something going, hopefully they have to pinch hit for him at some point. And Loesch in his third relief appearance. He's made 22 starts this year. He's been pitching pretty well out of the pen, actually. Kyle Loesch has been much better. 2 innings scoreless on Tuesday here against the Cubs.
He's facing Soler to start the inning. Loesch had a good changeup going on Tuesday night. And that was the pitch that wasn't there for him as a starter this season. And maybe he's found it again in the bullpen.
That's a pitch right there. Before this year, Loesch's last relief appearance came in 09, September of 09 with the Cardinals. It actually came against the Brewers.
I believe that was a game started by John Smoltz in his last year. The newly minted Hall of Fame member, John Smoltz. 2-2 to Soler. Back out there and a called strike 3. Beautiful pitching there by Loesch. Carving up the corners.
And that's what he's been able to do out of the bullpen. That was a tough thing for him to do when he was starting. I mean, right on the outside corner, Soler knew it. And got the first out in the 6th inning.
And that'll bring up David Ross. He's 0 for 2 today. Started with a slider, and it's in there for a strike. It's all those little subtle movements for Loesch. That's what makes him effective. And he was not able to command his pitches. He's not overpowering by any stretch. He's a command control pitcher. Used to be a hard thrower back in his days with the Twins and then the Phillies and the Reds.
Well, he just couldn't find the corners. He either miss off the plate or get too much of it. That's why he gave up as many home runs as he did. Doesn't have the velocity to get away with too much of the weight of the plate. Got to be on the black. Got to be on the edges.
You don't know what'll happen, but I'd be shocked if Loesch was still a Brewer come September. Getting into the non-waiver, or rather the waiver trade time right now, where you have to clear waivers and then you're available to be traded. As Ross strikes out, Loesch goes right back out there, and he's got a couple of punch outs.
They download MLB.com Ballpark on the official. It's the official app of Miller Park to personalize your trip to the ballpark with mobile ticket access, concession maps, seat upgrades, and in-seat merchandise ordering and more. Download the app today free for your smartphone or tablet.
Cubs fans applauding Starlin Castro. Coming off the bench, he'll pinch hit. Got a couple of at-bats in this series. He played second base for the first time in his career on Tuesday night, and then we saw him again at second last night. There has been a regime change at shortstop here in Chicago. The 21-year-old Addison Russell supplanting the 25-year-old Starlin Castro for now.
He's looked pretty good at second base when he's been thrown over there late in games. Made a great play here on Tuesday night in foul ground.
And there's a man who took his job. Another strike. 1-2. Loesch has a chance to strike out the side here in the 6th inning. Brewers will have the top of the order coming up in the 7th. Lester's out. Lester goes 6 innings, allowing 2 runs and 10 strikeouts.
That snaps a stretch of 7 consecutive starts for Lester, going 7 or more innings.
Liner in the left, and that will fall. Castro with a 2-out, 2-strike single. So Addison Russell will get a chance off Loesch here in this Cubs 7th. And this Cubs 6th, I should say. Mets won today. Beat the Rockies. Blue Jays took down the A's again. Toronto's won 11 straight. And the red hot Cubs lead the Brewers late. 3 teams that a month ago are on the outside looking in. All 3 teams surging. I think you could say the Mets and the Blue Jays really benefiting from the work they did at the trade deadline. That changed the outlook of their club and their roster. Cubs didn't really do much. They acquired 2 pitchers, Tommy Hunter, which could be a big play, but they didn't go make a big splash. With name players, they got Tommy Hunter from the Orioles, and they acquired Dan Herron as a starting pitcher from the Miami Marlins. There's been a lot of talk, a lot of rumors circulating that Chase Utley might end up here in Chicago with their second base situation unsettled.
That would be a surprise, I think.
Think about this lineup with Utley in it. A healthy Chase Utley.
Yeah, it's hard for me to believe that Starlin Castro is done here in Chicago. I mean, he's just too talented. I know that he has issues with focus and give it 100% every day, but he's 25 years old, still learning.
There's a little jam shot, long run for Herrera. The wind is blowing it. Oh my goodness, what a catch! Elian Herrera with a great play in shallow right. Man, that was beautiful. Over the shoulder catch. That is so tough. And Herrera makes the play and a gem to end the inning. First run of the game driven in by Jorge Soler. That was a base hit in the second inning. And then Ryan Braun with his chopper off Lester. He forgot to cover the bag, which allowed Segura to score. And then the Cubs pulled out the whooping sticks in the fifth. Home run by Fowler. Next batter, Schwarber. He hit a home run. And then two batters after that, Anthony Rizzo goes deep. In all, a 4-run inning on those 3-run homers. Fowler's was a 2-run shot. And then the Brewers able to get one of those back in the 6th inning, but it is 5-2. Cubs have the lead. We are in the 7th, and here is Jason Mott facing Gene Segura.
Yeah, Mott's been struggling as of late. Earned run averages over 6 in his last 14 relief appearances. That includes 2 blown saves. Last pitch on the 8th against the Giants gave up a run.
And Segura into right field. Soler on the track makes a catch. A strange way to catch a fly ball.
Yeah, a little nonchalant.
Segura's taking a peek at him. So 1 out for Jason Mott, the former Cardinal, coming back from Tommy John surgery. This is his 3rd year back now.
Doesn't have his full velocity back. He was up there in the 98 region when he was with the Cardinals, and he's back to mid-90s. Mott's got a few saves for the Cubs.
Cubs have been able to share that closer's role. Their leader is Rondon with 19. He just blew his 4th last night. But Mott has 6 saves. 7 different Cubs have saves this season. And I would imagine, talking to Craig Counsell today, that's something you'd see from the Brewers at some point. You can't do it now because Francisco Rodriguez is the established closer. You know he's going to be there. But at some point, Counsell would like to evolved the Brewers bullpen into a versatile, multi-use bullpen that you have relievers who are comfortable pitching in all kinds of scenarios, including save scenarios.
More of a matchup scenario out in that bullpen late in the game.
Lucroy grounds out for the second out of the inning. Well, it's a good way to do it because it allows you to give guys breaks, and you keep a fresh bullpen when you're not locked into roles.
Especially when you have so many save opportunities like the Cubs have had lately.
Right.
They've had a ton of one-run wins, extra inning wins. They've got 11 of them. That leads the National League in extra innings. So when you have that many save opportunities, close games with wins, I mean, I can understand how your closer can get worn out a little bit, but I don't think K-Rod's at all worn out at this point.
Ryan Braun hits a missile to left on the first pitch. He rips one for a single and a base runner for the Brewers. You never know. You get a long ball here, take a swing at it, and give yourself a chance to come back today at Wrigley Field.
Yeah, we've seen Joe Madden with a quick hook on Jason Mott at Miller Park. Yeah, the Brewers, right-handers coming up, Davis and Rogers. Of course, you have Lind and Jeanette waiting on the bench, both left-handed hitters.
And Joe Madden, just in case Craig Counsell's thinking about Adam Lind, he's got his left-hander Jeff Russell loosening, or I beg your pardon, Travis Wood loosening. Maybe a deterrent, if nothing else. Davis is down on strikes, and the inning is over. Single by Braun. He's stranded at first. Mott with a scoreless seventh.
Today's guest conductors for Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
Bottom of the seventh now, and Elian Herrera, what a play he made to end the last inning. This was the Marshfield Clinic shining moment of the game. Degree of difficulty very high on that one.
Yeah, beautifully done. Over the shoulder like a wide receiver, catching an Aaron Rodgers pass down the middle, and well done by Elian Herrera, not taking his eye off that baseball.
And Herrera with a hit today and a run scored, had a double. Dexter Fowler leads off. He had the big swing, gave the Cubs a lead with a 2-run home run in the 5th inning. That started a string of 3 home runs in the 5th inning and 4 runs scored. Fowler now at 12 homers. He's among league leaders in runs scored. He sees a lot of pitches. He gets on base. His batting average is low, but he's hitting .239 with an on-base percentage of .336.
And that's his job, get on base, right? I guess these days the leadoff hitter's on-base percentage, if you're around .340, that's considered pretty good.
Especially if you're bringing a little power to the position.
Yeah, 12 home runs.
Loesch back out there for his second inning, and he walks Fowler.
Fowler on pace to score 100 runs. He's scored 72 runs so far this year.
That's the third time he's been on base today. Counsell is going to make a pitching change. Well, it's 5-2. Counsell trying to play matchup here to keep the Cubs off the board with the left-hander Schwarber coming up. Counsell makes a change, and here comes Kotz. We'll take a break. You can see legendary Lambeau Field like you've never seen it before from Over the Edge on Saturday, August 15th, this coming Saturday. You can rappel down the side of Lambeau Field. It's the ultimate fan experience, and you can help raise money for Special Olympics Wisconsin. Go to foxsportswisconsin.com/events. There are limited spots available, so do it today. New pitcher is Neil Kotz.
Yeah, 48th appearance for Kotz. You got 3 consecutive left-handers due up for the Cubs. Looks like Chris Coughlin's going to be pinch hit for.
Schwarber with a runner at first.
Kotz pitched on Tuesday here at Wrigley Field, an inning and a third scoreless. Struck out a batter. Been pretty good. Unscored upon in 27 of his last 30 games.
In the air, left field. It is way back, and Schwarber has done it again. His second home run of the game. Number 8 on the season for the rookie Kyle Schwarber. Boy, he's having a rookie year for the ages. And didn't even get here until mid-June, and then didn't get back on a full-time basis until mid-July.
Yeah, check this pitch out. Out over the plate. Knocks it out of here, and boy, that is some kind of hack. He has got that high leg kick, and he knew it as soon as he hit it. Now midway up in the bleachers out there in left center. That's a big boy home run right there.
Makes it 7-2, and the Cubs add it quickly. Herrera on the first pitch, and a base hit. To the wall it goes. Jonathan Herrera in his first at bat with a double to left. And the hits keep coming for the Cubs.
Number 21st baseman, Anthony Rizzo.
Well, great counts are going with the matchup. Hadn't worked out too well so far. Cotts has been on a nice roll, except for this inning. Home run double.
Nobody out. Here is Rizzo. Cubs have already won 6 straight against the Brewers, trying to make it 7 in a row today. Cubs play on the road tomorrow, but they're playing the White Sox over at U.S. Cellular, so they don't even have to pack up. This is turning into quite a homestand for the Chicago Cubs, trying to go 7-0. Started with a sweep of the Giants and a 7-2 lead over the Brewers, having won the first 2 already. Cotts misses to Rizzo. 2-2 now. On the ground, backhanded by Rogers. Cotts is there for him. And the first out of the inning. Herrera advances to third base. Rizzo retired. One away for Bryant.
Yeah, Rizzo swinging one out of the zone and grounds out weakly. Good slider that time by Cotts. Yeah, to get the out, but you know, Herrera gets over to third base.
Here's Bryant. He's 1 for 3. Had a single in the second inning. They got a big crowd on hand today. 40,799.
It's been like that the whole series, hasn't it?
It's been
they've been rocking here at Wrigley Field like we haven't seen around here for a while.
Four and a half games clear in the wild card race, the Cubs.
You have seen a number of Brewers fans here at Wrigley Field, but they haven't had a whole lot to cheer about.
Cubs have not been in the playoffs since 2008. There's a strike call. Cotts gets one in there for a called strike. Out number 2.
Yeah, right on that inside corner. We've seen Bryant take some pretty good hacks on pitches away from him. Brewers have been able to tie him up inside, but man, leave it out over the plate a little bit. They'll knock it out of here on you. That was a good pitch.
Here's Jorge Soler. 2 away. Cubs had back-to-back division titles back in 07 and 08 under Lou Piniella. And then almost made the postseason in 09. They finished second in the division that year. And then they had 3 consecutive years losing 90 or more games. They lost 101 in 2012. Lost 96 in 2013. The year they lost 101, they had the second worst record in the big leagues, and that got them the second pick in the draft, and they used that pick to draft Chris Bryant. It's hard to believe they're 8.5 games back in the division race right now, as good as they're playing, but that's a testament to the Cardinals, who have by far the best record in the big leagues.
You know, all banged up, but they still continue to win. 73-40.
And then the Pirates are 7 back. Cubs 8.5 back, despite winning 6 straight.
Yeah, both teams outstanding at home. Cardinals have won 42 games at Busch Stadium this year.
Wow. They'll pop up, foul territory, long run, and Rogers is there to win the inning. But the Cubs, with a big blow, they get a home run by Schwarber, a 2-run shot to make it 7-2. Already 2 homers today. Our Miller Lite What's on Tap. The Phillies are coming to Milwaukee tomorrow, and it'll be Willie Peralta on the mound tomorrow. Jimmy Nelson, Taylor Youngman. Those are the 3 that the Brewers are banking their future on. Peralta, Nelson, and Youngman. They get the weekend series against the Phillies in our Miller Lite What's on Tap.
Yeah, Phillies have cooled off a little bit. Boy, they were hot there for a while. They won 5 of the last 10. And they struggled mightily on the road this year.
Tommy Hunter out for the Cubs. And the Cubs have a new right fielder, Chris Denorfia, defensive replacement. It's one thing about being a bench player on a Joe Madden National League team. You're going to play a lot.
Yeah. He gets everybody involved just about every night.
Jason Rogers will lead off. Now this one turned sour in the 5th inning. In a 1-1 game, the Cubs scored 4 runs in a flash, 3 homers in that 5th inning. Fowler, Schwarber, and Rizzo, and then Schwarber hit another homer in the 7th, a 2-run shot. He has 3 runs batted in. He's 2 for 3. After the Brewers held him hitless until today, he was 0 for 9 in the series.
Yeah, hits are even Brewers Cubs, but the Cubs have 4 home runs. Half of their hits have been home runs.
John Lester in line for the win. Cravey on the hook for the loss. And Hunter strikes out Rogers for the first out. Bunch of strikeouts today. The Brewers offense has struck out 12 times. Lester had 10 in 6 innings and 2 earned runs. Mott had a K last inning, and now Hunter with a strikeout to start this inning. Brewers will jump on the bus. They head to Milwaukee after the game. Herrera, center field, hit deep and over the head of Fowler. All the way into the ivy it goes, and Herrera with another extra base hit. He's got back-to-back doubles.
And then he hit one to the wall his first time up, out to left center. That was caught. Flexing his muscles today. Elian Herrera, second double today, and that was a slider that hung up in the strike zone, and Herrera able to knock it over the head of Fowler. Yeah, wind blowing out gave Adam a little bit of a boost, and the Brewers with a 1-out double.
And here is Hernan Perez. That Rangers-Twins game went final. Texas won 6-5. Twins have really struggled since the All-Star break. It's too bad. They had it in a good position. They were contending with the Royals, but that division is now a runaway train. The Royals are up 11.5 games over the Twins.
And Minnesota all of a sudden at 500.
Kansas City has the best record in the American League. Get an idea of how good the Cubs are and how good the Central Division is in the National League. Cubs have the 4th best record in baseball.
And they're 3rd in the division.
Cubs would be leading any division other than the Central, and they're 3rd in the division.
Right.
But they're hot on the heels of the Pirates. The Pirates have the Cardinals tonight in St. Louis. Francisco Liriano and Lance Lynn. It's a night game at Busch.
American League East has 4 teams over 500 coming into play today. Only the Red Sox at 50 and 64 under 500. Everybody's involved in that race except for the Red Sox.
Yeah, no doubt. Separated by 5 games. Toronto is the leader now. They've won 11 in a row. They won today again. Ground ball to Bryant. And Perez is out. 2 outs. I've been saying all year it doesn't look like there's a dominant team. And I still feel that way. But then you look at what the Cardinals have done, and they've had a dominant record. They just don't feel like a dominant team, but maybe we should start thinking about it that way.
I think the Kansas City Royals seem dominant. They did against the Brewers.
Madden's going to make a pitching change with a 5-run lead. And we'll take a break. Up. He's got 2 outs, runner at second. He wants to make sure the Brewers don't have any ideas of trying to come back today. Travis Wood, left-handed pitcher, will match up against Schaefer.
Now and again, I mean, sometimes you might not understand why a guy make a pitching change with a lead like this, but it's working for the Cubs. Keeping everybody involved, keeping them sharp, not keeping them out there too long in any one outing. It's the way he works his bullpen. The advantage that managers have these days when you have 8 pitchers in your pen. Used to be 5.
Yeah, the Cubs do have an off day Monday. They had an off day this past Monday. But after that, they get in a long stretch without an off day. 16 straight days without a day off, as a matter of fact. Big test for the Cubs will be a West Coast trip. They go to San Francisco and Los Angeles. That's a 6-game road trip out west. And that'll be at the end of August. Schaefer in the air to left. Schwarber on the track makes a catch. Inning over. Lefty-lefty matchup works. We're headed to the Cubs half of the 8th inning.
Ladies and gentlemen, now pitching from Milwaukee, number 57, right-hander, Francisco Rodriguez. Leading off the 8th inning for the Cubs, the pitcher, David Ross.
All right, Jamie, thanks. There you see Joe Madden with his pitching coach, Chris Bosio. Counsel forced to use Francisco Rodriguez here in a non-save situation. Hasn't been in a position to save a game since Sunday. So he needs some work, and he's on the mound to pitch the 8th inning. David Ross will lead off for Chicago, and then Denorfia.
Yeah, just too many days in between appearances for K-Rod. And as you mentioned, a 3-up, 3-down 9th for his 26th save against the Cardinals. He saved 31 in a row dating back to last year.
Ross is 0 for 3, couple of strikeouts. Getting to start with Lester on the mound. Lester, not a good day, not a great day, but a good day. Good enough anyway. 6 innings, 2 runs, struck out 10. Pitch count was high, so Madden went into the bullpen starting with the 7th inning. And has used 3 relievers thus far.
The first time Lester hasn't been able to go at least 7 innings in 7 starts. The Brewers worked him, high pitch counts, had some base runners in every inning just about. It was every inning but the 4th.
Well, and what has been a season to forget for the Brewers. Francisco Rodriguez has had a great year. 26 saves this year. He's saved every opportunity. He's converted 31 in a row going back to last season. Last blown save came on August 27th of 2014. That was against the Padres in San Diego. And a wave and a miss. David Ross strikes out again. He's bringing Sophia here, and Craig Counsell, at least he knows, Sophia, he's got somebody to finish off a game if he has a lead, which is a nice luxury for him. He'd like to see more of him, though.
Yes, and the Chicago media was asking Counsell about Frankie Rodriguez and his season, and Counsell, of course, had nothing but great things to say, saying, you know, he's just been remarkably consistent. He said he'll put himself in these pressure cooker spots, but the best thing about Frankie is that his heartbeat doesn't go anywhere. There's no situation that changes him or his game plan. He said his ability to read the game, situations, hitters, swings, he's seen him do it better than really anybody else. So he said it's fun to watch him pitch and just think along with him, think through situations and hitters, and it really has been fun to watch him this year in this run that he's been on.
Yep, he's 8th on the all-time saves list. He's 3 away from tying Joe Nathan. You hope he's going to be able to get the 3 and you know, a few more before this season ends. Frankie's signed for next year. Whether he's going to be a Brewer remains to be seen. It'd be nice to have him in the media guide one time.
That's right. This is his 5th tour of duty with the Brewers. He's never been in the media guide. Always a late sign. I'm surprised more teams didn't come after him, but the price is very high for Francisco Rodriguez. And it should be. He's been great.
Yeah, but the reward pretty good. I mean, it has been for the Brewers. You know, the difficult time they've had in winning games and getting leads in the 9th. K-Rod's been perfect. Been able to lock down every lead that they've had in the 9th inning.
Denorfia deep into left center field, and that one's gone. The 5th home run of the day for the Cubs. And just the 2nd of the year for Chris Denorfia. That makes it 8-2.
Yeah, Joe Madden continues to get these guys in games and being productive. Yeah, when you look at the players on the bench that have come in, you know, whether it be for defense or pinch hits, they've all been able to get hits. I mean, Herrera with a double, Castro with a single, now Denorfia coming off the bench with a home run. They feel like they're a part of things.
Here's Addison Russell with one away. He swings and pops it up. Braun fighting the sun out there. And there is out number 2. 5 Cubs homers. You know, and moving forward, if you're Joe Madden and the way this is setting up, the way he's proven that he'll use his bench players, if you're a role player and you're a free agent, you can play multiple positions. This would be one of the top spots right now.
Yeah.
They're going to be good for a while. You got big crowds to play to every day, and you got a manager who uses his bench.
Well, and being a role player and a bench player when I was in the big leagues, that's a big deal. You know, for your manager to get you in the game as much as he can and relies on you in certain situations. But you look at the bench for the Cubs, it's all veterans right now. You got Castro, you got Denorfia, Herrera, you know, David Ross when he's not starting, and that's really what a playoff bound team wants. Veterans coming off the bench that can be productive.
the year the Brewers won the Central, 2011, they had a very strong bench. Counsell and Mark Kotze. Jerry Hairston might have been the biggest pickup of them all, though. As versatile as he was.
Ended up playing a lot down the stretch and in the postseason.
That's a base hit. That's going to go down into the corner. Nope, hits the sidewall and out to Braun. And that's a double for Dexter Fowler. Boy, he's had a big day. 2 walks, a double, and a homer.
And 3 runs scored. 2 runs scored. Not 3. 18th double of the year for Fowler. And on base percentage continues to climb for the Cubs leadoff hitter.
Here is Schwarber, who's had the best day of them all with 2 home runs. He's got 3 runs batted in. Schwarber stepped up in the 5th immediately after Fowler had homered to give the Cubs a lead, and he launched one into center. That was Tyler Cravey's last batter faced, and then Schwarber again opposite field number in the 7th inning. 2-run home run. 8 home runs. 24 runs batted in.
And he struggled all series until he drew a walk. The at bat before he hit his first home run. Sometimes, you know, you take pitches. You be patient at the plate. All of a sudden he's got his swing locked back in.
It's his 31st game. He's got 8 home runs and 103 plate appearances or at bats. 2 outs, runner at second. That's a broken bat. That's going to fall for a base hit. Fowler's going to score. Schwarber with a 4 RBI game makes it 9-2. And that pretty much sums it up for the Cubs right now.
Man, it looked like a changeup that Rodriguez left up in the strike zone, and that's why Schwarber was able to just dump it into left right off the end of the bat. Yeah, mistakes that Frankie doesn't make in safe situations. Hardly ever leaves that changeup up in that spot in the bat in the strike zone.
Well, Craig Counsell's got his hands full how to keep morale up right now. The Brewers, a dreadful start to the year, set them in cellar mode, trading away a lot of their big bats. And it has been a rough go of it. Renner out of center field. Schaefer makes the catch. Cubs get 2 more. Schwarber with 4 runs batted in on 3 hits today. 9-2 Cubs. Last call for the Crew. Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. Book your stay now. Kyle Schwarber, the story of the day. 4 runs batted in, 3 hits, 2 homers. Had a walk. And he's getting to play an entire 9 innings in left field today. Craig Counsell will bring on Martin Maldonado to pinch hit. Travis Wood on the mound to try to finish this one off. Although Madden's got a reliever in the bullpen.
Yeah, he's probably going to come out. He just wanted to bring the right-hander out there. That looks like he's going to stick with him.
So Maldonado gets an at-bat. Haven't seen Maldi in the series. This game was tied at 1 going into the bottom of the 5th, and the Cubs have scored 8 runs since. They got 4 in the 5th, 2 in the 7th, 2 more in the 8th. The backup catcher, Martin Maldonado. Well, there's a chance with the base runner. Ryan Braun would get a chance at the plate in this 9th inning. Ryan Braun still a home run shy of the franchise record for home runs in a career. There's a called strike 3. Maldonado is out.
Well, let him get it when it's going to mean a win for the Crew, right? Maybe a game-winning home run. Don't need it in a 9-2 game.
Just in case you're thinking about changing the channel, just trying to
I get you.
Give you a reason to stay around.
Yeah, well, you're right. I apologize.
That's what we call a tease. I'm not sure he's going to get the bat here, though. Rizzo, the wind blows it right back out there, and he overran it.
Yeah, it's a much easier play than he made last night, right? Well, taking that for granted a little bit. That wind is really blowing right now.
I think he was excited to get back on top of the tarp again, but didn't need to go that far this time.
Well, it looked like it was going to go into the seats, but the wind pushed it right back into the field of play, and Rizzo misjudged it. They're going to give him an error?
They could, but I don't think they will. But I could be wrong. No error.
No error. No play. Never happened.
He's Anthony Rizzo.
Never happened.
Now, Bill Schroeder's playing first base.
That's 2 errors.
Error on the player and error on the manager.
Right. Yep. For putting him in there. It's good to be a star, isn't it?
It is. Star treatment.
Yeah, it's like Chris Bryant didn't get an error. Segura got a base hit early in the game on a ball that he threw away.
You've experienced the star treatment in the TV world every day. Fly ball center field. Fowler's got the glasses on. Catching it Devon White style for the 2nd out.
Best thing that happened to me in this series was Jim DeSays gave us his fan today.
Yes, a breeze machine.
Oh, man, it saved us on the open today.
We thank Jim DeShays for just as the water spouts were about to turn on your forehead.
I'm telling you, it was a full-out pit. It wasn't about to start. It was hot up here. Here in this tin can that they call a press box.
Yeah, it just feels like it's like a bit of an oven feel because it's metal and it heats up with the sun. Nice and cozy. Wood deals a strike to Lucroy. Brewers down to their last out in a series to forget. They had a chance to win yesterday. Lost in 10 innings. And the Cubs are going to sweep the Brewers in back-to-back series. They've won 7 straight against Milwaukee. There will be better days. Don't know when, but there will be. Brewers got to do what they can to stockpile some talent and develop players and try to model the Cubs. Cubs are trying to go to 5 games up over the Giants for that second wild card spot and move within a game of the Pirates for the first wild card spot. Pirates Cardinals tonight.
So if you're the Cubs, who are you rooting for?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Is it possible to root for the Cardinals?
I don't think so if you're a Cub, but that makes more sense. Cubs are still 8.5 back. It's a lot of ground to make up. Blue Jays made up that ground on the Yankees quickly. I don't see the Cardinals going through a streak like the Yankees are in right now. One-two pitch to Lucroy. And that's it. Ends on a strikeout. The Cubs sweep the Brewers. No fun at Wrigley for the Brew Crew. Kyle Schwarber, 4 runs batted in with 3 hits, including 2 homers. And Chicago has now won 12 of their last 13 games. They've won 7 straight. Jamie Hurst standing by. It's time for Brewers Live. We'll send it to our Fox Sports Wisconsin studios. Take it away, Jamie.